Although the people who were saved by Yun Chujio felt that this guy was a little exaggerated, they also nodded their heads. If it weren't for Yun Chujio, they wouldn't have been able to escape. After Yun Chujio was done talking, she took out the green stone slab with the Higan flower pattern and told them about the situation regarding the Divine Devil Hall in the Qingxian continent and the Tianyuan continent. She didn't tell them about Teacher Ma in front of everyone. She wanted to see how everyone would react. Moreover, who knew if Teacher Ma had any accomplices? It was better to tell Dean Gongsun in secret so as to avoid alerting him. When everyone heard Yun Chujio's words, they were instantly in an uproar. Divine Demon Hall? Earth Profound Chi? Dean Gongsun and Dean Duanmu looked at each other. Although they usually didn't see eye to eye, this matter was of great importance. At this moment, the two of them had finally gotten rid of their differences and gathered together to discuss this matter. The two of them had a simple discussion. They felt that this matter was not something that their two academies could resolve. They had to inform the other factions before making any further plans. This time many people had died and injured, especially in the WA Stone Academy. Their student identities were not ordinary. One could imagine that it would cause a huge uproar. The two principals were deeply worried. If they had known this would happen, they would not have allowed the students to enter the Tianluo mystic realm. However, there was nothing they could do to make up for their regret. They could only let the students and the teachers return to the academy first and deal with the aftermath. The next day Yun Chujio went to Dean Gongsun and told him about Teacher Ma. Of course, this fellow also did some processing. He said that Teacher Ma had been killed by a golden light and that the credit was placed on Tiandao Cliff. Dean Gongsun heard this and the worry in his heart grew. Teacher Ma had entered Xingtian Academy more than 10 years ago. Could it be that the Divine Devil Hall had already started their preparations at that time? Yun Chujio passed the jade token of the Resurrection Lily and the identity jade token that she had found from Teacher Ma to Dean Gongsun. Then she said, "Dean, there might be some of Teacher Ma's accomplices in this academy. Therefore it's best not to announce Teacher Ma's matter to the public, lest we alert the enemy." Dean Gongsun nodded. "I understand. You also have to be more careful. This time, you've ruined the Divine Devil Hall's good deed. I'm afraid they won't let you off." Yun Chujio's heart skipped a beat and she said with a troubled expression, "Dean, what you said is exactly what I'm worried about. I didn't sleep last night. I have a favor to ask of you and I want to ask for your help." "What is it?" "I can be said to be a thorn in the Divine Devil Hall's side right now. Moreover, they are in the dark while I'm in the light. My situation is really too dangerous. I heard that in a few months the Primordial Chaos sect will be recruiting new disciples, so I want to apply. Can you grant me 2 months of leave? If I can pass, I will go to the Primordial Chaos sect. If I can't pass, I will return to school." Yun Chujio said sincerely. Dean Gongsun was in a difficult position. Usually it was fine to ask for leave, but if he went to apply for the Primordial Chaos sect midway, it wouldn't make sense. Besides, although Yun Chujio's spiritual power had increased, it was almost like a fool's dream for her to get into the Primordial Chaos sect. There was no way she could get into the sect. Dean, as the saying goes, special matters are specially handled. To put it bluntly, if it weren't for my intelligence and cleverness, all the students in the 2 academies would have died. I have made a great contribution. If anyone is unconvinced, you can ask him to look for me personally. It'll definitely make him completely convinced." Yun Chujio straightened her back. She spoke quite confidently. When Dean Gongsun heard Yun Chujio's words, his heart relaxed a little. Indeed, if it wasn't for this little girl, he would have reached his limit as the dean. "Dean, what if I managed to pass the entrance examination? This would also give our Xingtian Academy's dean face, wouldn't it? When the time comes, our Xingtian Academy will be able to suppress the WA Stone Academy. This is a win-win situation." These words were said in Dean Gongsun's heart. He had spent most of his energy on competing with Dean Situ over the past few years. Finally, he nodded. "All right, I'll make an exception for you. It would be best if you get into the academy, but if you don't, hurry up and come back to class." "Thank you, Dean Gongsun. I knew you were more open-minded than that Dean Situ. Don't worry, I'll definitely get into the academy. I'll do my best for you," Yun Chujio said with twinkling eyes. Dean Gongsun tried his best to be serious, but the corners of his mouth couldn't help curling up. Apparently he was very happy to hear Yun Chujio say that he was better than Dean Situ. "Director sir, this is the Sky Luo secret realm of Qi Ling gave me. My alchemy level is limited. Keep it will be wasted or give you." You refine the pills, give me a few, I will be satisfied. Yun Chujio said and handed Dean Gongsun a big wooden box. Dean Gongsun took it and opened it. He was immediately stunned. The wooden box was filled with heaven-rank spirit herbs, and there were as many as 8 of them. Dean Gongsun's hands began to tremble. It must be known that 8 heaven-rank spirit herbs were worth at least 1 billion high-grade spirit stones, and even if one had the money, one might not be able to buy them. Dean Gongsun was about to refuse. Yun Chujio said with a distressed face, "Dean, you can't refuse me. My spiritual power is low and am always on tenterhooks with these things. Simply a crime to have a treasure. Please do me a favor and accept this hot potato." Dean Gongsun naturally knew that Yun Chujio was just making excuses, but he couldn't bear to part with these spiritual herbs, so he was very conflicted. Yun Chujio giggled. She said with a cheeky smile, "Dean, if you feel bad, then let Jinji and Xue Wuji go with me to participate in the Primordial Chaos Sect's entrance test. I'm timid, so I'm a little afraid to go alone." Dean Gongsun. He had been tricked. He had fallen into Yun Chujio's trap. This little girl had lured him into a trap step by step. This little girl had probably planned to get 3 spots from the start. However, she had only mentioned herself in the beginning. After he had agreed, she had used high-grade spirit herbs as bait to force him to agree to let Jinji and Xue Wuji go with her. Dean Gongsun sighed in his heart. He still could not escape the word greed. However, Yun Chujio and the other 2 were not ordinary people. Sooner or later they would soar to the sky. It was not a big deal to owe them a favor. Dean Gongsun's face was stern. He reprimanded Yun Chujio indifferently and said, "Forget it. Xue Wuji and Jinji have contributed a lot this time. Let them go with you." After Yun Chujio thanked him profusely, she left Dean Gongsun's courtyard. This guy couldn't wait to find Xue Wuji and Jinji and tell them everything. Xue Wuji and Jinji were naturally very happy. The 3 of them chatted and laughed. Jinji said, "Little Jiu, it's going to be a month's holiday soon. What are you going to do?" Yun Chujio touched her nose. "I have enemies all over the world now. I'm really afraid that I'll be hunted down once I leave Tianluo City. Otherwise, let's cultivate in the academy. Occasionally missing content, please report errors in time." Xue Wuji and Jinji looked at Yun Chujio speechlessly. He was right. This guy's ability to attract aggro was truly rare in this world. Lu Shi, Gu Shi, Yi Xinwan, along with the Lu and Fan families as well as the Divine Devil Hall, this guy's enemies could be counted on one hand. The 3 of them discussed and decided to stay in the Xingtian Academy to cultivate. In any case, a month's time would pass very quickly. Unexpectedly, the plan didn't change as quickly. Just as Yun Chujio was about to obediently spend her holiday in the Xingtian Academy, Dean Gongsun found her and said, "Due to the importance of what happened in the Tianluo mystic realm, the Sky-Bearing Alliance has gathered all the major powers in the Immortal Yuan continent, including the Hun Yuan sect and the Killing Yuan sect, to discuss the Divine Devil Hall's matters in the Rising Sky City. As you have dealt with the Divine Devil Hall before, and you are also aware of the Divine Devil Hall's matters in the Azure Mystic Continent and the Tian Yuan continent. Therefore, I request that you participate as well. Go back and pack up. Tomorrow you will rush to the Rising Sky City with me." Yun Chujio naturally agreed. What a joke. If she didn't agree, wouldn't she be looking for trouble? Besides, it was a good thing to meet all the big shots. Maybe the sect master of the Primordial Chaos sect would be kind enough to let her enter the sect directly. This fellow was daydreaming, seducing Xue Wuji and Jinji to go shopping together. This fellow first bought a lot of chili noodles and then bought a lot of pots and buckets. He even bought a few large vats. Jinji was very puzzled. "Little Jiu, I can understand why you bought so many pots and buckets. Why did you buy so many of them?" Yun Chujio said with a smile, "Of course it's to pretend to be delicious. Think about it. With so many big shots gathered together, how could there not be food and drinks? Moreover, the food and drinks must be high-end goods. I don't plan to order pots or anything. What will I use to pretend when the time comes?" Jinji, "Alright, forget it." She didn't know such a shameless person. Not only did this person buy these things, but he also bought some random things such as red cloth, rapeseed oil, ropes and so on. He had almost bought out the other person's grocery store. This person had thought it through. Perhaps he would use something so it wouldn't be a problem to prepare more. Besides, she had plenty of spirit stones at the moment. To her, spirit stones were just a number, okay? The feeling of acting cool was really great. The next morning Yun Chujio left Xingtian Academy with Dean Gongsun in high spirits. When they arrived outside Tianluo City, they saw Dean Situ exchanging greetings with Mayor Huang. Besides a few guards, there was also an extremely luxurious flying spirit tool behind the two of them. Yun Chujio guessed with her toes that it must belong to the local tyrant, Mayor Huang. Dean Gongsun nodded slightly at the two of them as a greeting. Just as Dean Gongsun was about to introduce Yun Chujio to Mayor Huang, he heard Yun Chujio say in a crisp voice, "Great-grandfather Huang, I haven't seen you for a few days. Why do you look so much younger? Damn, I'm too embarrassed to call you great-grandfather. Calling you great-grandfather makes me feel a little old." Dean Gongsun and Dean Situ almost sat on the ground. What was this? When did this Yun Chujio become Mayor Huang's granddaughter? Wasn't she from the Yi family? Could it be that the Yi family's great-grandfather and Mayor Huang were brothers? But they also had different surnames. Also, Mayor Huang's old face looked older than them. How could he be young? Little girl, is there something wrong with your eyes? Is it really good for you to suck up so blatantly? Mayor Huang was also stunned when he heard Yun Chujio's words. Then he laughed out loud. You little girl, you sure know how to talk. Don't you know that I feel much younger after looking in the mirror these past 2 days? Dean Gongsun and Dean Duanmu nearly vomited. Pooey. Your old face is like the bark of an old elm tree and you look much younger? Shameless. Everyone exchanged some pleasantries before boarding the flying spirit tool. Tianluo City was hundreds of thousands of miles away from Rising Sky City, and it would take at least 10 days to travel there. That was why Dean Gongsun and the others would board the same flying spirit tool. This was also to help each other out. After all, the superposition of the three forces would be even stronger. Yun Chujio was very tactful. After boarding the flying spirit tool, she tried to play nice for a while before returning to her room to avoid being disliked. The journey was very smooth and there were no accidents. 10 days later, the flying spirit tool arrived outside of the city of Rising Sky City. After Yun Chujio got off the flying spirit tool, she was really shocked by the majestic atmosphere of Rising Sky City. If Tianluo City was the size of a soybean, Rising Sky City could be called an apple. The city walls were tall and the city gates were simple and sturdy. The words Rising Sky City written on the board made people feel as if they were soaring into the sky. Yun Chujio overturned her previous evaluation of the Sky-Bearing Alliance. It seemed that the Sky-Bearing Alliance was not just a show. Since they could build such a city, their strength could not be underestimated. The city gates of Rising Sky City were wide open. Although there were guards on duty, they would not check on pedestrians. This kind of situation showed that the Sky-Bearing Alliance was very confident in their strength. They believed that no one would dare to mess around in Rising Sky City. Beside the guards stood a middle-aged man dressed in Sky-Bearing Alliance attire. From the looks of it, he should be here to welcome the guests. As expected, when that person saw Yun Chujio and the others coming over, he greeted them with great hospitality. Mayor Huang, Dean Gongsun, Dean Situ, the three of you have come from afar. Thank you for your hard work. Yun Chujio, this fellow, was slightly unhappy in her heart. Could it be that she had not seen such a big living person? Even if he didn't know her, it was still considered polite to at least give her a nod. She was just being snobbish. Yun Chujio was good at reading people's expressions. She could tell that this person was not trying to please Dean Gongsun and Dean Situ. He was trying to please Mayor Huang. Mayor Huang didn't seem to buy it. He just replied indifferently and asked, Liao Wei, where are our accommodations arranged? Liao Wei didn't seem to notice Mayor Huang's indifference to him. He continued to say obsequiously, the three of you are arranged to stay in the Earth-class guest house. There will be people there to receive you. Mayor Huang nodded and then led everyone into the Rising Sky City. Liao Wei saw that Yun Chujio and the others had gone far away, so he took out a voice transmission talisman. Master Huang Yichen has arrived. It was unknown what was said on the other side, but Liao Wei's gloomy and cold expression flashed across his face. Then he continued to greet the guests with a smile on his face. Mayor Huang introduced the guests as he walked. Yun Chujio felt that her eyes were not enough. Oh, there was always someone better than her. There was always someone better. The prosperity of this Rising Sky City was simply beyond her imagination. However, it was also true. Just like how the Eastern continent and the Western continent were worlds apart, the area occupied by the super aristocratic families and super sects was naturally more prosperous than the area around Tianluo City. Even the spiritual energy was much denser. Yun Chujio glanced around casually. There were many people on the streets that she couldn't see through. This meant that these people were at least at the spiritual void realm or above. When Dean Gongsun disembarked from the spaceship, he specially instructed Yun Chujio. Yun Chujio, this rising sky city isn't like the Heaven Punisher Academy. When the time comes, you must not provoke any trouble. Your Yi family is high and mighty in our place. In Rising Sky City, you might not even be considered a second-rate force. Any random person on the streets might not be someone you can provoke. If you stir up trouble, I won't be able to protect your little life. Yun Chujio immediately swore an oath that she would definitely be honest and would definitely not stir up trouble. Dean Gongsun nodded, but he was still worried. For some reason he felt that his right eye was twitching non-stop. He had a feeling that the little girl in front of him would cause trouble. Therefore, although Dean Gongsun said this to Mayor Huang, he kept his eyes on Yun Chujio, afraid that she would cause trouble. Yun Chujio realized that Dean Gongsun was staring at her, and she could not help but be speechless. She might be a little out of line, but she would not cause trouble, right? Did this old man have to go so far? Although Yun Chujio really wanted to take a good stroll, the three old men weren't interested in shopping. They walked through the streets and alleys and soon arrived at the guest quarters of the Sky-Bearing Alliance. The Libra Alliance occupied nearly 1/3 of the Rising Sky City's area. Just the guest quarters alone had hundreds of them and were divided into 4 areas: Heaven, Earth, Black, and Yellow. It was obvious that the guest quarters were divided into different levels. The heaven-shaped guest house was the best, followed by the earth-shaped guest house, followed by the black-shaped guest house. The yellow-shaped guest house was basically where the guest guards lived. The Sky-Bearing Alliance's guest houses were all equipped with guards and maids. Therefore, guests were usually only allowed to bring 2 guards in. The rest of the guards would be arranged in the yellow-shaped guest house. Dean Gongsun and Dean Situ had been here a few times before, so they were very clear about the rules here. Mayor Huang was a local household, so he naturally knew everything. The 3 of them led Yun Chujio to the gate of the house with ease, and a steward immediately came out to welcome them. After some small talk, the steward arranged for the maids to bring the 4 of them to their respective courtyards to settle down. Dean Gongsun was very thoughtful. He specially assigned 2 guards to Yun Chujio to prevent her from being unfamiliar with the place and being restricted. It was obvious that Dean Gongsun had underestimated a certain Jio's thick skin. Even if this fellow was thrown into hell, he would probably be a good friend of King Yama. How could he be restricted? Yun Chujio followed the maid who led the way to a courtyard. Yun Chujio did not show it on the surface, but she was once again unhappy in her heart. Although the courtyard she was in was also considered an earth room, it was obviously the worst among the earth rooms. Yun Chujio had every reason to believe that this courtyard was not even comparable to the Shen room. As for why she thought that way, it was because the contrast was too obvious, okay? The courtyard on her left was an earth room, which was almost 3 times the size of her courtyard. The wall on her right was separated by the Shen room, and the courtyard was also twice the size of her courtyard. Although Yun Chujio was a little unhappy, she thought about it and decided to forget it. If they were to really compete, her status was really not comparable to an earth room. Anyway, she would be going back after staying for a few days. 2 maids and 2 guards stood at the entrance of the courtyard. It seemed that there was nothing wrong with them. The maid who was leading the way said a few polite words and then left. Once the maid left, the attitude of the 2 maids and the 2 guards immediately changed. They were so arrogant that they wished they could grow eyes on their backs. The 2 guards behind Yun Chujio frowned slightly. However, since their master did not say anything, they naturally would not say anything. One of the maids, Mingyue, wiped her mouth with a handkerchief when she saw Yun Chujio. She said with a fake smile, "Miss Yun, this matter has caused a ruckus. We thought that you had already eaten lunch. So we took the courage to eat your lunch. You don't have any objections, right?" Yun Chujio smiled brightly. It's okay. If you like it, I'll give you my share in the future." Mingyu's eyes flashed with disdain. She said perfunctorily, "Thank you, Miss Yun." After Mingyue said that, she picked up her chopsticks and continued to eat. Obviously, she was not going to talk to Yun Chujio anymore. Yun Chujio was not angry. She turned around and went into the bedroom. Mingyue spat in the direction of the bedroom. This Yun Chujio is quite self-aware. I think it's true. Even the legitimate daughter of the Yi family is not qualified to live in an underground room. She, the daughter of a step-in-law, was only invited to the party because of dog shit and luck. Another serving girl, Ming Qiao, echoed, "That's right. I don't know what the higher-ups are thinking, but they actually invited a trash like her over. The 6th level of the Ling Xian realm is simply too laughable. I heard that Yun Chujia's mother was expelled from the Yi family. I don't know how they succeeded her. I heard that Yun Chujio claimed to be the favored child of the Tiandao. She deliberately created a few incidents. Those people over there haven't seen the world before, yet they take her seriously. What a joke." Shifeng, one of the guards, sneered. "Yun Chujio has been arranged to stay in this courtyard. This means that her status isn't even comparable to the guests in the mysterious room. We should eat and drink. Speaking of which, the food provided to our guests is truly delicious," Shiling, the remaining guard, said as he ate. The 4 of them were chatting and laughing. Their voices were not low, and it was obvious that they did not care whether Yun Chujio would hear them. Xingwu was furious. "Big brother, Miss Yun was a tyrant in Xingtian Academy. Why didn't she say anything when she was being bullied? Those 4 snobs actually ate Miss Yun's food and they did not even help us get our food. Are they planning to starve us to death? Miss Yun told us not to cause trouble, so please calm down. Besides, don't we have dry rations? If you're hungry, just eat dry rations," Xingwen said disapprovingly. Xingwu scolded indignantly, "Damn it. I thought that we would be able to eat well here, but I didn't expect that we wouldn't even be able to get food. I think Miss Yun is just a hooligan, but she's already cowardly in this rising sky city." Xingwen glared at him fiercely. "What do you mean cowardly? You should keep your mouth shut about master's matters. Just stay here obediently." Xingwu grumbled a few more words before he took out a steamed bun and chewed it bitterly. Yun Chujio narrowed her eyes in the room. It seemed that these servants did not know the contents of the meeting. Speaking of which, the matter of the Divine Devil Hall was of great importance. Naturally, they would not leak the news casually. Although Yun Chujio hated these 4 villains who flattered the higher ones and trampled on the lower ones, she was more concerned about who had arranged for her to be in this courtyard. The person who could arrange the courtyard should at least be a small steward. He must have someone in the upper echelons. What right did she have to offend the people of the Sky-Bearing Alliance? Could it be a trick of the Fan family? She felt that it was unlikely. The Fan family did not need to resort to such a trick at such an important gathering. Yun Chujio thought for a while but couldn't come up with any ideas, so she decided not to think about it. Anyway, if the person behind the scenes wanted to target her, he would reveal himself sooner or later. There was plenty of food in the storage ring. She ate a little and then took a nap. Dean Gongsun and the others were busy receiving guests. This was also the reason why they had arrived early. This was a rare opportunity to expand their social circle, so they naturally wouldn't let it go. Yun Chujio naturally wouldn't be insensible and cause trouble. For 2 days in a row she filled the room with mushrooms. When the 4 servants saw that Yun Chujio was weak and easy to bully, they became even more unscrupulous. Not only did they eat Yun Chujio's meals, they didn't even help prepare the tea and water for washing up. Not to mention Xingwu, even Xingwen could not stand it. Why did this Yun Chujio suddenly seem like a different person? Was she really going to swallow her pride? After breakfast on the 3rd day, Yun Chujio sent a voice transmission talisman to Old Master Yi out of courtesy to ask if he had arrived. She wanted to go over and pay her respects. Although Yun Chujio and Old Master Yi had developed a grudge after the matter between Yi Xinwan and her mother, Yun Chujio naturally would not let others find fault with what she was supposed to do on the surface. Old Master Yi replied that he had already checked into room number 80, indicating that Yun Chujio could go over and pay her respects. Yun Chujio tidied up briefly and left the bedroom. She said to the 4 people who were eating snacks and chatting in the courtyard, "I want to go to room number 80 to pay my respects to my great-grandfather. Which one of you will accompany me?" Mingyue threw the melon seeds in her hand onto the plate. "How troublesome. To stay here. What are you going out for? Let's go." Yun Chujio's expression was as usual, as if she did not see or hear Mingyu's disrespect. She did not bring Xingwen and Xingwu either. She only brought Mingyue out of the courtyard. After leaving the courtyard, Mingyu's expression became a little more restrained. She was probably afraid that others would see her. However, she led the way at a very fast pace. She wanted Yun Chujio to make a fool of herself. She felt that Yun Chujio's spiritual power was only at the 6th level of the Lingxian realm, and she was already at the 8th level of the Lingxian realm. If Yun Chujio could not keep up with her pace, she could only jog. It would be so embarrassing. Unexpectedly, even though she was already walking very fast, Yun Chujio still walked unhurriedly on her right side. Moreover, her expression was normal and she did not seem to be panting at all. Mingyue was so angry that she gritted her teeth, but she did not dare to say anything outside. Because Mingyue was leading the way, the two of them quickly arrived at room number 80. The servant in room number 80 respectfully invited Yun Chujio in and then let her into the study room. Yun Chujio could not help but mock herself in her heart. Look, the servants here were the normal servants. The 4 people in her courtyard were simply the masters. Therefore, strength was the most important principle. She had to improve her strength as soon as possible. Yun Chujio entered the study and bowed respectfully to Old Master Yi. Sit. Previously, you didn't explain too clearly in the voice transmission talisman. What exactly is going on with the Divine Devil Hall? Yun Chujio had briefly told Old Master Yi about the matter of the Tianluo mystic realm before. After all, Old Master Yi was the big tree that she had her back now, so she had to report what needed to be reported. Yun Chujio told great-grandfather Yi in detail about the matters of the Divine Devil Hall. Of course, some things that should not be said had been processed by this fellow. Great-grandfather Yi's expression turned grave after listening to her. No wonder even the Primordial Chaos sect and the Murderous Origin sect had participated in this meeting. The matters of the Divine Devil Hall concerned the life and death of the immortal Yuan continent, so they could not be careless. Great-grandfather Yi glanced at Yun Chujio, who was munching on snacks. This great-granddaughter of his could always be associated with some strange things. He did not know whether she would soar to the sky or fall to the dust in the future. Yun Chujio cursed Mingyue and the others in her heart as she ate the pastries. Damn it, she did not expect the pastries in this guest house to be so delicious. From this, she deduced that the taste of the food must be even better. They had all eaten them. Little bitches, just you wait. Great-grandfather Yi saw the expression on Yun Chujio's face and thought that she did not like the taste of the pastries. He frowned and said, "Little Jiu, if the pastries do not taste good, don't eat them. Why force yourself? I quite like the pastries. It's just that when I think about the matters of the Divine Devil Hall, I'm a little annoyed. The matters of the Divine Devil Hall will naturally be handled by adults like us. You can just focus on cultivating. After this gathering ends, you must cultivate properly when you go back. Otherwise, the Divine Devil Hall will find trouble with you," Old Master Yi said solemnly. Yun Chujio nodded, indicating that she would definitely cultivate properly and improve every day. Old Master Yi reminded her a few more times and picked up the teacup. The meaning was obvious. It was time for Yun Chujio to leave. What Old Master Yi did not expect was that his hand holding the teacup was sore. Yun Chujio acted as if she did not understand what he meant by serving tea to send her off. She continued to sit there and munch on pastries. Cough cough. Little Jiu, since there's nothing else, you can go back first. Old Master Yi was really at a loss and could only chase her away. Great-grandfather, it's been a long time since I've accompanied you for dinner. It's almost time for lunch, so I'll just stay here and eat with you, Yun Chujio said with a smile. Great-grandfather Yi looked at Yun Chujio speechlessly. He had just had breakfast, all right? It was still far from lunchtime. Seeing that a certain Jiu was staying here, Great-grandfather Yi could only say to her, "Since that's the case, you can read here by yourself. I'll go meditate and cultivate." "All right. I'll call you over when we're having lunch." Yun Chujio's reply was crisp and clear. The corners of Great-grandfather Yi's eyes twitched. What was wrong with this little girl? Great-grandfather Yi shook his head helplessly and went back to his bedroom to meditate. Yun Chujio crossed her legs and took out her phone book to read. The reason why this fellow did not leave was obvious. Of course, it was to freeload lunch. She did not want to deal with Mingyue and the other 3 right now, so she could only freeload lunch here. This fellow counted with his fingers and finally endured until noon. Seeing that the maid had brought lunch, this fellow could not wait to invite Old Master Yi to the living room. Yun Chujio looked at the sumptuous food on the table and almost drooled. Old Master Yi glanced at her and coughed. "Little Jiu, behave yourself outside. A girl should behave like a girl." Yun Chujio said cheekily, "There are no outsiders here. You are my closest and dearest person." When great-grandfather Yi heard Yun Chujio say this, the little grudge in his heart disappeared a little. He scolded Yun Chujio jokingly and helped her to pick up a few pieces of meat. "You little gluttonous cat, eat." Yun Chujio was stunned. Yun Xiaotian often said this to her. When she thought of Yun Xiaoan, her eyes turned red and tears almost fell. Old Master Yi misunderstood. He thought that Yun Chujio was touched, but in his heart he couldn't bear it. She was just a child, but he was a little heartless. Forget it. As long as she didn't cause trouble again, he could help her find a good family in the future. With the protection of the Yi family, she would have something to rely on in the future. Yun Chujio calmed her emotions and picked up the meat in the bowl and put it into her mouth. Unexpectedly, before she could chew, a suction force came from her dantian, and the meat was absorbed by the guai chow. Yun Chujio could not help but be shocked. Could it be that the meat was poisonous? Yun Chujio quickly used her spiritual sense to ask about the guai chow. The leaves of the guai chow swayed non-stop, obviously very excited. It was really poisonous. Yun Chujio picked up a few more dishes without batting an eyelid. They were all poisonous except for the spiritual rice. Yun Chujio did not tell Old Master Yi that there was poison in the dishes. Firstly, she could not explain how she found out that there was poison in the dishes. Secondly, this poison probably did not only exist in this meal. It was too late to say it now. Thirdly, she did not want to alert the enemy. Old Master Yi's status here could only be considered second-rate. His words did not carry much weight. If he claimed that the dishes were poisonous, he might be blamed by others. It was better to take a look first. Anyway, this medicine seemed to be slow-acting and it would not kill anyone in a short while. Yun Chujio thought of Mingyue and the other three, and she could not help but laugh in her heart. It was really retribution. If those four knew that the food was poisonous, their intestines would probably turn green with regret, right? After Yun Chujio had a free meal, she said her goodbyes slowly and left Old Master Yi's guest house. On the way back, Mingyu's expression was very ugly. Clearly, she was complaining that Yun Chujio had stayed too long. Yun Chujio thought to herself, "Jump around. Seeing that you willingly took the poison, I won't teach you a lesson for now." After the two of them returned to the guest house, Mingyue grumbled quite a bit, almost pointing at Yun Chujio's nose and cursing. Yun Chujio acted as if she didn't hear anything and slowly entered the bedroom. Yun Chujio spent a lot of effort to communicate with Guai Chao before she understood. The poison in the vegetables only had one effect, and that was to make one's spiritual power disappear. This poison was very strange. It hid for a very long time and it would take at least 7 days for it to take effect. Moreover, once it took effect, the lost spiritual power would not be able to be recovered. Yun Chujio counted with her fingers. Even if they were the first batch to arrive, they would still leave the Rising Sky City 7 days later. Could it be that they wanted to make a move on the way? Was this matter the work of the Sky-Bearing Alliance or the Divine Devil Hall? No matter which faction did it, this plan was really successful. The people who came this time were all the leaders of the Immortal Essence continent. As long as these people were killed, all the major factions would be greatly weakened. The mastermind would naturally be more than happy. Yun Chujio wasted a lot of effort to ask about the formula of the Guai Chao's antidote. She never expected that although this poison was insidious, the antidote was very out of Yun Chujio's expectations. The antidote was simple, but it was also not simple. The antidote to this poison did not need to be refined. It only needed the juice of the coral fruit to detoxify the poison. However, there was a problem. The coral fruit was only a level 1 spirit fruit. Only low-level continents could grow it. In a high-level continent like the Immortal Yuan continent, even if one scraped the land 3 times, there would not be such a low-level spirit fruit. Yun Chujio silently glanced at her storage ring. She remembered that she had stored a lot of coral fruits in her storage ring. Later, Di Baiming gave her a lot of delicious spiritual fruits. She despised the coral fruits because they weren't delicious. Therefore, those coral fruits were still there. Moreover, even if she didn't have them in her storage ring, there were plenty in the Great Void Mirror. She could have as many as she wanted. Yun Chujio burst into laughter as she thought about it. She sympathized with the mastermind. If she hadn't come, his plan would have been successful without a hitch. Unfortunately, this bad thing of hers had come. She was also helpless. Why was she always forced to be the one to turn the tables? He just wanted to be a quiet foodie. This fellow rolled his eyes. This time was different from the trials within the Xingtian Academy. It wasn't a good thing to be in the limelight too much. It was best to do it quietly like a spring breeze. Sometimes it wasn't a good thing to shine too brightly. It was better to keep a low profile. Yun Chujio rested her chin on her hand and thought for a while. After she felt that her plan was foolproof, she continued to flip through the storybook. The next day it was finally the day of the gathering. Everyone left the guest house and headed to the meeting hall of the Sky-Bearing Alliance. Yun Chujio naturally followed Dean Gongsun. Dean Gongsun once again instructed her to be careful with her words and actions when she arrived at the meeting hall and not to act rashly. Old Master Yi also specially came over and instructed her once. He was afraid that Yun Chujio would cause trouble and implicate the Yi family as well. It was rare for Yun Chujio to reflect on herself. Was she really that unreliable? Why did everyone think that she would cause trouble? She was clearly your savior, alright? The meeting hall of the Sky-Bearing Alliance was comparable to a small square. It could accommodate thousands of people without any problem. The meeting hall was decorated with a grand atmosphere. Everyone sat down according to the arranged seats. A certain Jiu also got a seat at the front. After being ignored for a few days, she finally tasted the taste of preferential treatment. Yun Chujio moved her chair back slightly so that she could peek around openly. Anyway, there were people on both sides blocking her view. She found that the seats at the back were already full. Only the few seats in the front row were empty. It was understandable. After all, the big shots were the last to appear. After a while, a few elders walked in while chatting and laughing. Yun Chujio realized that she didn't recognize any of them, but there was one who looked somewhat similar to Fan Mingchuan. He was probably the head of the Fan family. When the crowd saw the few old men, they all stood up to greet them. After the few old men took their seats, another 3 old men came in. Yun Chujio knew that these 3 were most likely the sect master of the Hunyuan sect, the sect master of the Shiyuan sect, and the alliance master of the Sky-Bearing Alliance. Sure enough, 2 of the old men sat on the chairs on both sides, while the other old man stood at the front without taking a seat. On behalf of the Sky-Bearing Alliance, I, Yen, welcome all of you. I'm sure all of you know the theme of our meeting this time. A few days ago, the students of the Xingtian Academy and the Wa Stone Academy were attacked by monsters during the trial in the Tianluo Mystic Realm, resulting in heavy casualties. According to the surviving students, this matter involved a faction that they had never heard of before, the Divine Devil Hall. Yen felt that this matter was of great importance, so he had invited everyone over to discuss this matter together. I've specially invited the student who was involved to come over and have her tell everyone the details of the matter. After saying this, Alliance Master Yen of the Sky-Bearing Alliance turned to look at Yun Chujio, who was standing beside Dean Gongsun. Although Alliance Master Yen did not know Yun Chujio, those who participated in the meeting were all old men. The youngest was also a middle-aged man. There was only such a little girl, so it should be that Yun Chujio. Everyone's eyes were focused on Yun Chujio. Dean Gongsun and Old Master Yi were both a little worried. This little girl was usually very sharp-tongued. Would she have stage fright in such a big scene? They were clearly thinking too much. The more people there were, the more Yun Chujio could show off. She could have just stood in front of her seat, but this girl just had to walk to the middle of the meeting hall. She first bowed to everyone, then said in a crisp voice, "This junior is Yun Chujio of the Yi family. Let me briefly explain what happened. Then we will talk about the Divine Devil Hall in the Qingxian continent and the Tianyuan continent." At that time, after we entered the Tianluo Mystic Realm, Yun Chujio's story was vivid, and the crowd could not help but exclaim as if they were there themselves. When they heard the last part, when Yun Chujio said that a pair of big hands tore through the void and took Su Yen ran away, some people stood up in surprise. Tear through the void. Wasn't that a legendary divine ability? How was that possible? Little girl, you sure have a sharp tongue. Your story is very vivid. However, exaggerating isn't a good habit. Do you know that it doesn't matter if you lie, but your words will cause the entire Immortal Essence continent to be in turmoil? Do you know your mistake? The old man, who looked similar to Fan Mingchuan, said unhappily. While the old man berated, he actually used his pressure on Yun Chujio. Although he didn't use his full strength, the pressure he released was enough to make a person with spirit void cultivation kneel down. Old Master Yi frowned. He felt that the Fan family head was truly a little too much. Even if you felt that the little ninth girl's words were a little exaggerated, you could just blame her. Why was there a need to release pressure? Old Master Yi felt that this matter was inextricably linked to Fan Sushue, but even if he was dissatisfied in his heart, he did not dare to say anything. After all, the Yi family and the Fan family were not on the same level at all. Although some people present also felt that what the head of the Fan family did was somewhat inappropriate, no one was willing to offend the head of the Fan family because of a little girl they did not know. Moreover, if that Yun Chujio could not withstand the pressure, she would just kneel down. It was not a big deal for a well-known junior like her to kneel down to the head of the Fan family. When everyone thought that Yun Chujio would be forced to kneel down by the head of the Fan family, they saw that although fine beads of sweat were oozing out from the forehead of that little girl, she still stood straight and said in a clear voice, "Senior, although this junior's spiritual power is low, I also know the principle of prudence. Everything I said just now is true. If any of those words are a lie, I will be struck by lightning and die a horrible death. Moreover, it is very easy to verify my words. Send a few people to the Tianyuan continent to investigate and find out if I am lying. So, would I be so stupid as to fabricate such a lie?" The meeting hall was silent. Everyone was stunned by Yun Chujio's performance. Firstly, they were surprised that she actually gritted her teeth and endured the pressure of the Fan family head. This little girl was really stubborn and proud. Secondly, although she said these words to answer the Fan family head's question, the word stupid in the end was like a reflection of the Fan family head. This little girl was really too bold. Wasn't she afraid that the Fan family's patriarch would blame her in a fit of rage? The Fan family's patriarch's expression was very gloomy as he snorted coldly. He increased his pressure once again. "Little girl, what you said is easy. Putting aside the fact that heading to the Tianyuan continent's enchantment has a certain level of risk, just this trip alone will take about half a year's time. According to what you just said, there was once a giant hand that tore through the void and saved the people from the Divine Devil Temple. It's impossible. Because only God can tear through the void, and God is already a legendary existence. How could there be a God?" Beads of sweat dripped down Yun Chujio's forehead, however her back was still straight. "Senior, I'm young and inexperienced. I don't know if God exists. I only know that what I said is the truth. Besides, no matter what I do, there is always a motive. Why would I make up such a lie? What good would it do me? Is it for my reputation? I saved the students of the Xingtian Academy. My reputation is enough. Moreover, the matters of the Divine Devil Hall are confidential. I can't go around the continent and claim that I've met the people of the Divine Devil Hall before. As for the benefits, there was no way to talk about it. To put it bluntly, I had ruined the Divine Devil Hall's good deed this time. They wanted nothing more than to kill me to vent their hatred. If it wasn't for the safety of the immortal Yuan continent, would I have foolishly stood up and told them the truth? In the Tianluo secret realm, I didn't abandon my classmates. After leaving the secret realm, I didn't care about my own safety to hide the truth. Although I, Yun Chujio, am not a great hero, I can at least have a clear conscience. Senior, you are a highly respected person. I am just an unknown little girl. I have explained everything that I can. If you still do not believe me, then I have no choice." The beads of sweat on his forehead were obviously forced out by his spiritual power. This guy was not even afraid of the pressure of the heavenly thunder. How could he be afraid of the pressure of the head of the Fan family? After Yun Chujio finished her powerful words, her eyes turned red. She bit her lips tightly, looking wronged but stubborn. Everyone had a scale in their hearts. After hearing Yun Chujio's words, they could not help but look at the head of the Fan family with disapproval. The little girl was right. She was not full of herself. Why would she make up such a lie for no reason? Besides, if she were to lie, she only needed to send a team of people to the Tianyuan continent to investigate, and they would be able to expose her lie. Would she be that stupid? The head of a super family actually made things difficult for a junior. This was really too much. Fan Zhenqing, you, an old man who is half buried, bullying a little girl, isn't that a little too disloyal? The little girl was right. It's not like she was full of herself and made up such a lie. An old man with white hair and beard curled his lips and said, "Chao Menghai, shut up. You still haven't settled the debt of stealing our Fan family's spirit stone mine. What right do you, a thief, have to talk to me?" The head of the Fan family immediately pointed the spearhead at the old man. What a joke. What does your Fan family have to do with me losing the spirit stone mine? Don't tell me that your Fan family is going to be the scapegoat for just lying and complaining about losing something? You are twisting the facts. The miners of our Fan family have all gone to your Chow family. If you didn't steal the spirit stone mine, then who did? A certain Jiao, who was wiping her tears with a handkerchief, secretly said in her heart, I stole it. If you have the ability, come and bite me. No wonder Fan Mingchuan and Fan Sushio were like that. It turned out that the upper beam was not upright while the lower beam was crooked. This old thing was also not a good thing. Just as the head of the Fan family and the head of the Chow family were quarreling with each other, the old man who was sitting on the chair to the left placed the teacup in his hand on the table heavily and coughed. The head of the Fan family and the head of the Chow family immediately stopped fighting. They glared at each other and did not say anything else. Yun Chuju thought to herself, looks like the strength of the Hun Yuan sect and the Shi Yuan sect are much stronger than the super families. Otherwise, the head of the Fan family and the head of the Chow family would not be so obedient like rats seeing a cat. Alliance Master Yen of the Sky-Bearing Alliance seemed to have fallen asleep just now. It was only now that he laughed and said, the head of the Fan family is also doing this to be cautious. Little girl, don't take it to heart. Yun Chujio cursed in her heart. What a wily old fox. But on the surface she said respectfully, this junior understands that senior Fan is a highly respected senior. The Fan family's patriarch's face was gloomy. He felt that Yun Chujio was exaggerating. Perhaps there really was such a divine devil hall, but it was definitely not as powerful as she had described. However, he did not rebuke Yun Chujio again. After all, there were so many people present. If he were to speak again, it would appear that he was bullying the weak. Alliance Master Yen waited until the crowd's discussion had quieted down before he said, regarding the divine devil hall's matter, what do you all think about it? Do you have any countermeasures and suggestions? Although everyone was discussing intensely just now, they all knew that this order of speaking was not to be messed with. All of them turned their gazes towards the two sect masters of the Chaos Origin sect and the Killing Origin sect. Master Xiaoho of the Killing Origin sect and Master Bailey of the Chaos Origin sect did not say anything. Instead, they picked up their teacups and drank their tea. Everyone present knew that these two people were not on good terms with each other. They probably wanted to speak first. However, they did not want to show it due to their pride, so this difficult problem was left to Alliance Master Yen. Everyone's gaze turned to Alliance Master Yen, wanting to see how he would resolve this difficult problem. Yun Chujio, you are the person involved and you have dealt with the people from the Divine Devil Hall several times. What do you think? Alliance Master Yen changed the topic very cunningly. Yun Chujio had just sat down and was about to watch the show, but she did not expect to be called out again. She could only stand up again, her face revealing an awkward expression. Alliance Master Yen, you are flattering me too much. I am just a small shrimp, how can I have any opinions? How about this, I will explain some of the practices of the Qingxian continent and the Tianyuan continent to see if there is any value in using them for reference. Those two continents had discovered the traces of the Divine Devil Hall by chance, and then followed the clues to find some hidden clues. However, because the Divine Devil Hall was in the dark, there was not a good way to completely eradicate their forces. Their method is to first investigate themselves, and then widely publicize the harm of the Divine Devil Hall. Everyone knows the sinister intentions of the Divine Devil Hall, so naturally, the Divine Devil Hall would not have the soil to develop their forces. After Yun Chujio finished speaking, she returned to her seat with some embarrassment. This fellow cursed Alliance Master Yen in his heart. You've thrown the blame away, but you've pushed me out to take the blame. Shameless. When everyone heard Yun Chujio's words, they felt that this method was not bad. If the people of the immortal Yuan continent could consciously resist the Divine Devil Temple, then it would be very difficult for the Divine Devil Temple to continue expanding its power. Since the Divine Devil Hall did not dare to appear in public, it must have not fully developed yet. Once there was no soil for development, it would be very difficult for it to stir up big waves. Alliance Master Yen cupped his hands at Master Bailey of the Primordial Chaos sect and Master Xiaoho of the Shi Yuan sect. What do the two sect masters think of Yun Chujio's suggestion? Alliance Master Yen's words were very skillful. He was talking about the two sect masters. There was no order, so he would not be found out. The old man on the left-hand chair took the lead and said, "This method is also feasible. Everyone go back and check it out first. If there are people who act abnormally, pay attention to them. In addition, Alliance Master Yen can have your Sky-Bearing Alliance put up notices in every city in the immortal Yuan continent, informing everyone of the dangers and sinister intentions of the Divine Devil Hall." The old man on the right-hand chair frowned slightly, obviously not satisfied with the old man on the left speaking first. Chief Yen nodded. What Master Xiahou said makes sense. Master Bailey, do you have any suggestions? The old man on the right, Master Bailey of the Primordial Chaos Sect, said calmly, "I agree with Master Xiahou's suggestion. Since we can't find any traces of the Divine Devil Hall for the time being, it's feasible to prevent it before it happens." Chief Yen then asked for the opinions of the others. Since the two big shots had already made the final decision, what could they say? They could only express that the two big shots were wise and that what the two big shots said was right and so on. Everyone originally thought that this meeting would be held for a very long time. After all, this was a major event. Who would have thought that it would be completed in less than an hour? After everyone's flattering words were finished, the atmosphere in the meeting hall became slightly awkward. Alliance Master Yen was also very helpless. If he were to extrapolate based on past experience, the meeting would need at least 4 hours before the lunch banquet would naturally begin. But now it was actually finished in such a short time. He couldn't possibly eat lunch right after breakfast, right? Why not let everyone return to the guest house first? It didn't seem too good. What should he do? He couldn't just sit there like a fool, right? Just as Alliance Master Yen was in a dilemma, he caught a glimpse of Yun Chujio eating the sweet pastries like a little squirrel. Actually, there were tea and pastries on the table next to each guest, but everyone only drank tea at most. No one would really eat pastries. A certain Jiao, on the other hand, was eating very sweetly. Dean Gongsun, who was sitting next to her, glared at her a few times, but this fellow acted as if he didn't see her. This fellow naturally had her considerations in mind. Her performance just now was too outstanding. She had to let others discover her flaws, otherwise it would attract too much attention. Yun Chujio, what you said before was relatively simple. Take this time to describe in detail what happened in the Divine Devil Hall. Alliance Master Yen said with a smile. Yun Chujio almost choked to death on the pastries. Why was Alliance Master Yen so fixated on her? The fellow could only wipe his mouth with a handkerchief and said a few words modestly. Then he began to ramble on about the Divine Devil Hall. In any case, she had dealt with the Divine Devil Hall many times. She could talk for half a day just by randomly picking a few times. Of course, some things that could not be said, she avoided the main point and only briefly mentioned them. Anyway, this fellow was good at lying, so he was not afraid of being found out. As Yun Chujie's speech was vivid, and these people had never been to the Qingxian continent and the Tianyuan continent, they heard it with great interest. Midway, someone asked a few questions and the crowd discussed a few more words. Finally, it was lunchtime. "Everyone, I have prepared a banquet. Please move to the banquet hall next door." Alliance Master Yen heaved a sigh of relief in his heart. Fortunately, there was this little girl, otherwise it would be a bit troublesome. Everyone arrived at the banquet hall next door. The banquet hall was also very spacious. Everyone followed the directions of the maids and took their seats. The servants quickly sent over a sumptuous banquet. Alliance Master Yen said a few words of courtesy before the banquet began. At the beginning, everyone was still a little restrained. However, after a few cups of spirit wine entered their stomachs, they all let go and toasted with each other. It was very lively. Yun Chujio naturally buried her head in the food and ate bitterly. As she ate, she felt that it was a pity. These dishes were all poisonous. It seemed that she couldn't bring them back to Brother Wuji and Jinji. Everyone began to take turns toasting. The atmosphere in the banquet hall reached its peak. Yun Chujio was almost done eating. Only then did she start to size up the crowd. She was ready to see if there was anyone who was behaving abnormally. Perhaps she could find out who was the one who poisoned them. Unfortunately, after looking around, she did not find anyone suspicious. Yun Chujio felt that it was time for the savior of bad news to appear. This fellow took out a handkerchief to wipe his mouth and then stood up. Dean Gongsun and the others were at the same table as her. When they saw this fellow stand up, they were all shocked. This little girl didn't want to toast again, so why did she stand up? Especially when old Master Ye's heart was in his throat. Little Jiu, what are you going to do this time? Before old Master Yi could stop her, he discovered that his great-granddaughter had already jumped to the first table, which was the table where Master Bailey, Master Xiaohou and Alliance Master Yen were at. Alliance Master Yen and the other two had special identities, so there were only the three of them at this table. The three of them were also stunned when they saw Yun Chujio. What was this little girl doing here? Could it be that she wanted to propose a toast? But she didn't have a wine cup in her hands either? For a moment the banquet hall suddenly fell silent. Everyone's gaze turned towards Yun Chujio. Old Master Ye's old heart almost stopped from fright. What exactly did this little Jiu want to do? Seniors, this junior is very honored to be able to meet all of you this time. I originally wanted to come over to propose a toast, but I don't know how to drink wine. Using tea as a substitute for wine also felt insincere. So this is just a small token of my appreciation, please accept it. The three of them looked at Yun Chujio in confusion, only to see Yun Chujio take out 3 oil paper packets from her storage ring, and then respectfully handed them to Alliance Master Yen and the other two. The three of them curiously opened the oil paper packets, and saw that inside were some small fruits that looked like coral beads. Although they looked very pleasing, they almost didn't have any spirit energy. This wild fruit is called coral fruit. It is a kind of wild fruit from the Qingxian continent. It should be considered the lowest grade of spiritual fruit. Seniors, I know that you usually eat high-grade spiritual fruits, so you might not like this kind of small wild fruit. However, I gave this kind of fruit for a reason. Back then, I did not have spiritual power and could not cultivate. It was only after I ate this kind of fruit that I was able to slowly cultivate. I always felt that this fruit brought me good luck. This was a kind of lucky fruit. Therefore, even though it didn't taste particularly good, I had stored a lot of it in my storage ring. I felt that if this was the case, luck would be able to look after me forever. Therefore, I plan to give this coral fruit to all the seniors. I hope that everyone will always be lucky. Yun Chujio's face became redder and redder as she spoke. It was obvious that she was very embarrassed. In the end, she didn't dare to look at Alliance Master Yen and the other two. Alliance Master Yen probably felt that Yun Chujio had taken the blame for him twice today, so he smiled and said, "You little girl, you really have a pure and kind heart. I haven't eaten wild fruits for many years. It's not bad to try it today. It can also be considered to be a bittersweet memory." As Alliance Master Yen spoke, he picked up a few coral fruits and put them into his mouth. Although they were not considered delicious, the sour and sweet ones were not bad. Master Bailey and Master Xiaohou also ate a few of them symbolically. Although they did not praise Yun Chujio, their faces were still fine. It was clear that they had a good impression of Yun Chujio. Yun Chujio's small face was flushed with excitement. She said incoherently, I am really too excited. I thought that the 3 seniors were unattainable. I did not expect that they actually ate my lucky fruit. Then can you help me sign an autograph as a motivation to motivate me to move forward? Alliance Master Yen couldn't help but laugh. He casually took out a jade pendant and said, "There's no need for an autograph. I'll give this misty cloud jade pendant to you as a reward. Cultivate well." A certain Jio's heart was filled with joy. She had been waiting for this sentence. Yun Chujio decided to cross out Alliance Master Yen from the black account book. This was really a godly assistance. How could she eat these coral fruits for free? She had to pay some shipping fees, okay? Fortunately, this guy knew that a rabbit wouldn't eat grass near its nest, so he didn't ask Dean Gongsun and the others for spirit tools. Yun Chujio knew that the guards of these people were probably also affected, but she was helpless. If she said anything more, it would be too easy to expose herself. In any case, these mighty figures were fine, so the other party's conspiracy could not succeed. As for the guards, they could only blame themselves for being too careless and admit that they were unlucky. When Yun Chujio sent the coral fruit, she deliberately observed everyone's reaction and did not find anything wrong. There were 2 possibilities. One was that there were indeed no people from the Divine Devil Hall. The second was that the people from the Divine Devil Hall did not know that the coral fruit was the antidote to the poison. After all, an ordinary antidote could only be refined. Yun Chujio felt that the second possibility was more likely. After all, the Guaichao was too abnormal. He'd find the antidote to many poisons that were thought to have no antidote. This was also good. When the time came, the Divine Devil Hall would not suspect her. They would only think that there was a mistake in the poisoning. After 3 drinks and 5 dishes, Master Bailey and Master Xiaohou stood up to bid their farewells. Everyone also took the opportunity to bid their farewells. Alliance Master Yen either personally sent them off or let the people from the Sky-Bearing Alliance send them off. Very quickly the banquet hall became empty. Dean Gongsun and the others did not leave. After all, they were the source of the matter. No matter what, they had to exchange a few words with Alliance Master Yen before they could leave. Alliance Master Yen sent the guests back to the banquet hall. He smiled and exchanged a few more words. Then he said to Yun Chujio, "Little girl, if you have time in the future, you are welcome to visit the Sky-Bearing Alliance often." Dean Gongsun and Dean Duanmu exchanged a look. This little girl had caught Alliance Master Yan's eye. Yun Chujio said with a smile, "Thank you, Alliance Master Yan. I will definitely visit you often in the future. However, next time just let me stay in the yellow room." What they said makes sense. My identity is indeed not qualified to stay in the black room. Them? Who said anything? Alliance Master Yen frowned. Yun Chujio covered her mouth and looked as if she had let the cat out of the bag. She said hurriedly, "Hi. I was talking nonsense. Thought it myself." Mingyue and the others didn't say anything. A faint light flashed in Alliance Master Yan's eyes and he didn't ask any more questions. A certain Jiao of the White Lotus went online and immediately dug up the 4 servants completely. Sometimes there was no need to say things too thoroughly. A person like Alliance Master Yen would naturally be able to find out the truth. At this moment, a maid carried a very big food box and walked in. Alliance Master Yen smiled and said, "Little girl, I saw that you really like the pastries of our Sky-Bearing Alliance. You can take these back and eat them." Yun Chuji was really a little surprised. She really didn't expect Alliance Master Yen to give her pastries. After this guy took the pastries, his heart struggled for a while. He said, "Thank you, Alliance Master Yen. I don't have anything good. I'll give these baskets of coral fruits to you. You can give them to your subordinates and let them have a taste. Maybe it will really bring them luck. After all, back then I could turn into spiritual power even without spiritual power. It's really amazing." Alliance Master Yen smiled as he took the basket. After exchanging a few more pleasantries, Yun Chujio and the rest took their leave. Alliance Master Yen did not take Yun Chujio's words to heart. However, he felt that it was not bad to let his subordinates have a taste of the fruits. Hence he only kept 1 basket and gave most of it to his subordinates. Alliance Master Yen did not know that it was because of these few baskets of coral fruits that the Sky-Bearing Alliance was able to avoid the fate of being wiped out a few days later. Yun Chujio sighed emotionally as she walked out. She was still too soft-hearted. There was definitely a spy from the Divine Devil Hall in the Sky-Bearing Alliance. If she had not given Alliance Master Yen those few baskets of coral fruits just now, the Sky-Bearing Alliance might have suffered a heavy blow by then. Yun Chujio noticed that Mayor Huang did not look too well and seemed to have something on his mind. However, she was not familiar with him, so she could not be bothered to ask. What she was concerned about now was what method the Divine Devil Hall would use to attack them 3 days later. Great-grandfather Yi had originally planned to leave with the Liu family, but he was dragged onto their flying spirit tool by Yun Chujio. Great-grandfather Yi was also very familiar with Dean Gongsun and Dean Duanmu, so he took advantage of the situation and agreed. After Yun Chujio boarded the flying spirit tool, she took out a basket of coral fruits and gave it to the accompanying guards. What a joke. She could ignore the others, but these guards were all combat capable, so she still had to rely on them to protect her. 3 days passed in the blink of an eye. Yun Chujio checked the various equipment in her storage ring, then leaned on the observation window to look out from time to time. Dean Gongsun and the others thought that Yun Chujio was curious about the scenery below, so they didn't pay too much attention to it. The 4 of them drank tea and chatted leisurely. At this moment Yun Chujio cried out in surprise, "Those flying spirit tools are very strange. They seem to be surrounding us." Dean Gongsun and the others were stunned. They subconsciously reprimanded, "Nonsense. How is that possible?" Although they said so, everyone still went to the observation window and looked outside. They saw 4 flying spirit tools flying over from 4 different directions. Their intentions were very obvious. They wanted to surround the flying spirit tools they were riding on. Dean Gongsun and the others were shocked. What was the background of these flying spirit tools? Why were they surrounding them? Everyone quickly gave the order to get the guards ready for battle. At this moment they heard a few guards shouting in panic, "Oh my God! Why is my spirit energy disappearing? Mine too, what's going on?" Dean Gongsun and the others subconsciously checked their spiritual power. Fortunately, there was nothing unusual about them. They asked the other guards, but most of them didn't find anything unusual. Only then did everyone relax. As for the few guards whose spiritual power had begun to dissipate, they were like this because they didn't like the coral fruits that Yun Chujio had given them. They didn't want to eat them at all. That was why they were like this. Of course, everyone didn't know what was going on inside. They treated it as if these people had eaten something by mistake and didn't take it to heart. At this moment, the 4 flying spirit tools had already surrounded Yun Chujio's flying spirit tools. Mayor Huang shouted through the porthole, "Who are you people? Why are you surrounding our flying spirit tools? Don't you know who we are?" A sinister voice came from one of the flying spirit tools. "Humph, of course we know who you are. One is the principal of Xingtian Academy, one is the principal of Huosher Academy, one is the city lord of Tianluo City, and that damn Yun Chujio." Yun Chujio's heart trembled. Damn it! Why did he mention her name? It seemed that she really belonged to the Divine Devil Hall. If it was any other force, they would not hate her so deeply. It was simply unforgettable, right? Mayor Huang's expression changed. "Who are you people? Since you know our identity, why are you stopping us? Who are we? Didn't you guys discuss how to deal with us? What a joke. Your foolish actions are all within our Lord's grasp. We can use this opportunity to kill you. I presume that your spirit energy has already begun to drain? You are now like turtles in a jar. If you want to live, then obediently descend and surrender. Otherwise, only death awaits you." That person arrogantly shouted. Mayor Huang and the others were stupefied. Spirit energy was beginning to drain? They were clearly very normal, weren't they? They suddenly thought of the few guards from before. Could it be that the God and Devil Palace had gone on a business trip when they poisoned them? So only those few guards were affected? Mayor Huang was about to speak when he saw Yun Chujio wave her hand at him. Mayor Huang was stunned. He did not quite understand what Yun Chujio meant. Then he saw Yun Chujio walk near the porthole and screamed, "Ah! My spiritual power. Why is my spiritual power gone? What's going on?" Mayor Huang and the others immediately understood what Yun Chujio meant. They could only twitch their eyes and shout that their spiritual power had disappeared. Seeing this, the people on the other side became even more arrogant. "How is it? You trash want to go against our Divine Devil Hall? You really overestimate yourself. Surrender now or we won't be polite." Just as the person in the flying spirit tool finished speaking, he heard Yun Chujio scream, "Sir Dean, what are you doing? Why did you tie me up?" "Dean Gongsun, great-grandfather, save me quickly. Don't tell me you're planning to hand me over as well? Sabi, I'm your biological great-granddaughter. Even a vicious tiger won't eat its own child." Old Master Yi. Everyone only had one thought in their hearts. This fellow really had a lot of tricks up his sleeves. But that person from the Divine Devil Hall thought that Yun Chujio and the others had rebelled in their nest. Mayor Huang and the others had planned to push Yun Chujio out as a scapegoat in order to escape for their lives. What a fool. Today not a single one of them could escape. That person called out cunningly, "How about this? Let's land on the ground. As long as you hand Yun Chujio over to me, I'll let you all go." Mayor Huang saw Yun Chujio winking at him, so he could only say with a stiff face, "All right, I'll believe you this time." The man from the Divine Devil Hall twitched his mouth. These people were really easy to fool. However, it was also true that they didn't have any spiritual power anymore. Besides obediently giving in, they didn't have any good ideas. After Yun Chujio's flying spirit tool landed, the 4 flying spirit tools of the Divine Devil Hall also landed. Several people wearing black masks walked out and surrounded Yun Chujio's flying spirit tools. "Come down. You all have no spirit energy now. If you play tricks, you will be courting death." A man wearing a silver mask said arrogantly. Dean Gongsun and the others looked at Yun Chujio. What did she mean? What should they do now? Should they continue to act or go out and fight? They could only continue to act if they didn't go down. If they went down, the other party would immediately realize that they weren't poisoned. Could they continue to act? Yun Chujio did not say anything. She only took out a few big sacks from her storage ring. The guy lowered his voice and said, "These are chili noodles. In a while I will attract their attention. You guys throw these things out through the observation window and the porthole. They will either use something to block or avoid it. No matter what they do, these big sacks will break. When that happens, we will use talismans or spiritual power to deal with them. Won't it be easy to turn the tables?" Hee hee, everyone felt that the laughter was extremely scary. They could imagine that the people from the Divine Devil Hall were not on guard at all. If these sacks of chili were to go down, the scene would definitely be beautiful. After Yun Chujio finished speaking, she ran to one of the observation windows and cried out in pain, "No. You can't hand me over. This is an extremely shameless act. If you do this, you will be condemned by your conscience." Dean Gongsun and the others felt that these words were meant for them and felt a little uncomfortable. Yun Chujio gestured at them with her chin, and only then did they react and start to act. The people of the Divine Devil Hall were very pleased when they heard Yun Chujio's wail. One could imagine the excitement in their hearts when they thought that they had obtained the first prize of capturing Yun Chujio alive. The reason why they were so confident was because the higher-ups had clearly said that Mayor Huang and the others had all been poisoned and that there was no antidote for the poison that they had given those people, therefore they must have no spiritual power now. What was there to be afraid of for those who did not have spiritual power? Just as they were feeling pleased with themselves, a few big gunny sacks were suddenly thrown out. Some of these people subconsciously stepped back while others used their weapons to block, and then they suffered a tragedy. Chapter 2538 Divination 9 Yun Chujio had just purchased these chili peppers, and she had specially chosen the hottest ones to buy. The people of the Divine Devil Hall were immediately choked to the point of tears, and they all cried out in pain. My eyes. My eyes. What the hell is this thing? Cough cough, I'm choking to death." At this moment, several more talismans attacked them, and immediately, another wave of miserable howls sounded. Dean Gongsun and the others saw that the fire was almost ready, so they jumped down from the flying spirit tool and began to attack the people of the Divine Devil Hall. Although the Divine Devil Hall had more people than Yun Chujio and the others, firstly, their spiritual power was not as high as Dean Gongsun and the others, and secondly, they had been cheated by the chili powder and talismans, so they were at a disadvantage all of a sudden. Yun Chujio did not go down to participate in the battle. Instead, she crouched behind the observation window and sneakily attacked them with a small needle of spiritual power. Poof 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 poof. The man with the silver mask had red eyes like a monkey's buttocks. Only now did he realize that they had been fooled by Yun Chujio. But why weren't they poisoned? How is that even possible? Is there something wrong with the information? You're killing me. When he saw the tide was turning, he tried to board a flying spirit vessel and escape. Thus he fought while retreating. Before he could retreat to the side of the flying spirit tool, he heard someone shouting clearly, "That silver-masked man wants to sneak away. Don't let him escape. Seal the cabin door of the flying spirit tool, he won't be able to escape. Come and read on our website Wuxiao World site." Thanks. The silver-masked man was so angry that he gritted his teeth. No wonder the higher-ups wanted to kill this Yun Chujio. Not only was this wretched girl full of tricks, but her thoughts were also too vicious. The man gritted his teeth. Now that things had come to this, he could only sacrifice his life to protect the cart. Thus the man bit his index finger. Just as he was about to form a seal, he heard Yun Chujio shout, "He's going to use a secret technique to teleport. Don't let him form a seal. Let's gang up on him and beat this shameless bastard to death." The man was so angry that he almost spat out a mouthful of blood. This Yun Chujio was simply not human. How did she know his plan? Dean Gongsun and the others received Yun Chujio's hint and quickly surrounded the silver-masked man. Yun Chujio was still boisterous. "Hey, little fools of the Divine Devil Hall, listen up. Your silver-masked leader clearly wants to escape for his own life. He is treating you as abandoned children. Are you willing to be played by him just like that? If you want to live, surrender now. Otherwise, only death awaits you." I know you all have poison in your mouths, but it's better to die than to live. Why bother? The eyes of the people from the Divine Devil Hall were swollen like peaches. They had been beaten up by Mayor Huang and the others, so they were no longer in the mood to fight. Now that they heard Yun Chujia's words, their desire to live had gained the upper hand. Most of them expressed their surrender, but a few of them still resisted. 15 minutes later, the dozen or so people were killed, and the silver-masked man was also captured alive. He had wanted to commit suicide by taking poison, but unfortunately, Divination 9 had already warned Dean Gongsun and the others, so he didn't succeed. Yun Chujio saw that the situation was set, so she jumped down from the flying spirit tool. This guy walked up to the silver-masked man and curled his lips. A fool like you still wants to kill me? There are 4 flying spirit tools and the number of people is 3 times more than ours, yet none of them succeeded. Tell me, how can you be so stupid? The silver-masked man was so angry that he kept twitching. Yun Chujio, don't be so smug. Although our group failed, the other groups will definitely succeed. I'm warning you, you'd better be more polite to me. Perhaps you'll still have a way to live in the future. Mayor Huang, since he is so stubborn, please conduct a soul search. After the silver-masked man's soul search, Mayor Huang said with an unsullen expression, there isn't much valuable information. He is just following the orders of a Jin Mian man. Yun Chujio seemed to have known this result. She curled her lips and said, the Divine Devil Hall has always been like this. The fate of these silver-masked and black-masked men is better. Those gold-masked men have been marked with the soul of the purple-masked men. Once they are caught, they will be silenced. Therefore, it is very difficult to obtain key information about the Divine Devil Hall. It was obviously the first time that the people from the Divine Devil Temple who surrendered heard about this. Most of them were bribed by the rapid cultivation pills of the Divine Devil Temple. Some of them were tempted by money. Initially, they thought that after finishing this round, they would be able to succeed and become famous. Who would have thought that they would be completely abused? Their intestines were turning green with regret. Occasionally missing content, please report errors in time. Mayor Huang, what's our next step? Should we return to Tianluo City or go to the Sky-Bearing Alliance to take a look? Dean Gongsun asked. Just as Mayor Huang was hesitating, Yun Chujio came over and said, Seniors, since the Sky-Bearing Alliance is fine, it doesn't matter if we go there later. Now that we have a good opportunity to help others, we can't let it go. Everyone was puzzled. What opportunity? Didn't the silver-masked man just say that there are still many people from the Divine Devil Hall who are going to kill other guests? Just because we aren't poisoned doesn't mean that those people aren't poisoned. Moreover, most of them arrived later than us, so the poison probably hasn't spread yet. Therefore, it's still not too late for us to rescue a few batches. Regardless of whether it's a favor or morality, we won't make a loss by doing this, Yun Chujio said with a smile. Mayor Huang glared at her. What are you talking about? It's not a business, what loss is there to talk about? Yun Chujio shrunk her neck and was about to defend herself. However, she heard Mayor Huang say, however, what you said makes sense. When we save them, how can they not give us a single cent? I heard that the Chow family is rich and is not too far away from our route. Why don't we go and save the Chow family first? Yun Chujio, fuck. So this old fellow is more calculative. Great-grandfather Yi had the intention to go and save the Fan family first, but Yun Chujio did not give him the chance to open his mouth at all. He directly retorted, Great-grandfather Huang, what you said makes sense. Let's go and save the Chow family. As for the Fan family, forget it. Since that Fan family head likes to use coercion so much, let him use coercion to take care of the people from the Divine Devil Hall. When great-grandfather Yi heard her say this, how could he still have the face to say that he was going to save the Fan family? Moreover, he felt that since they were not poisoned, perhaps the Fan family and Chow family were not poisoned either. During the flight of the flying spirit tool, Yun Chujio began to brainwash the people from the Divine Devil Hall. From the medicinal pills they took to the sinister intentions of the Divine Devil Hall, and from their sins to their future in life, she told them one by one that they almost had nothing left to live for. When this fellow saw this, he then said, actually, you are not hopeless. There is a great opportunity right in front of you. You heard it just now. We are going to save people. This is a good opportunity for you to turn over a new leaf and turn over a new leaf. Those people from the Divine Devil Temple were like drowning people grasping at straws. Miss Yun, what do you want us to do? It's very simple. When we arrive at the rescue location, pretend that you've captured us. Yun Chujio also knew that even if these people had made a poison vow, they could still take advantage of the loophole in the vow or slack off in their work. However, she did not plan to use them for a long period of time. At least for now, they did not dare to play any petty tricks. Yun Chujio blinked her eyes and told the people of the Divine Devil Temple how to do it. Those people nodded their heads repeatedly and lit a candle for their accomplices. At that moment, the Chao family's patriarch was at his wits' end. The Chao family's patriarch had also just received a voice transmission talisman from Alliance Master Yen, but he was now unable to respond to it. There were still a few days' journey away from the Chao family, and it was too late for the Chao family's people to rush over. He could only hope that he and his guards were not poisoned. After all, they had not yet discovered the loss of their spiritual powers. However, his hope was quickly shattered. Other than him, all the guards' spiritual power had begun to drain, and the rate of loss was very fast. What was worse was that 4 flying spirit tools had already surrounded their flying spirit tools, forcing them to land on the ground. Family head, we will hold them off in a while. Please leave quickly. Your spiritual power is superb. You will definitely be able to get rid of them, said the head of the guards. Although the head of the Chao family was unwilling, he knew that there was no other way. After all, even if he stayed, he would still be outnumbered. The cabin door of the flying spirit tool opened. Just as the guards of the Chao family were about to go down and buy time for the head of the Chao family, they saw a luxurious flying spirit tool flying over from afar. The head of the Chao family could not help but feel overjoyed. He recognized that this flying spirit tool belonged to Mayor Huang of Tianluo City. Could it be that they had come to save him? However, the head of the Chao family was soon disappointed because someone inside the flying spirit tool shouted, "Brothers, you have worked hard. We have already captured Yun Chujio and Mayor Huang. We have come to give you a helping hand." The heart of the head of the Chao family felt as if it had fallen into an ice hole. He had originally thought that it was the reinforcements, but he did not expect that it was the people from the Divine Devil Hall. Although his spiritual power was superb, there were too many people on the other side. He was afraid that he would have to pay a great price to escape. The people from the Divine Devil Hall were very happy. Although they thought that they were almost certain, it was always good to have more helpers. After the flying spirit tool landed, dozens of black-masked men stepped down from the flying spirit tool. One of them bowed to the silver-masked man. "Sir, our sir is guarding that Yun Chujio. You know that wretched girl is full of tricks. Our sir is not at ease to let others watch." The silver-masked man felt a little envious and jealous. He said with a slightly sour tone, "Your lord has made a great contribution this time. He is really lucky." Those black-masked men laughed and said a few words. Then they naturally stood behind those people from the Divine Devil Hall. The silver-masked man saw that the patriarch of the Chao family had not come down yet. He curled his lips and said, "Patriarch of the Chao family, do you want me to invite you? Hurry up and come down." The head of the Chao family gritted his teeth. Just as he was about to let the guards of the Chao family take action, he heard waves of screams coming from the people of the Divine Devil Hall. He was stunned to find that those black-masked men had actually stabbed him in the back. Moreover, many people had come down from that luxurious flying spirit tool. It was actually Mayor Huang and the others. What was going on? Didn't they say that they had been captured? Also, what was going on with those black-masked men? The Chao family's patriarch was stunned. The silver-masked man and the people from the Divine Devil Hall were even more dumbfounded. Right at this moment, a smiling voice came from the luxurious flying spirit tool. "Hey, people from the Divine Devil Hall, let me ask you one thing. Are you surprised? Are you pleasantly surprised? Do you feel that it's very interesting?" The people of the Divine Devil Hall were so angry that their noses were crooked. It was an accident, but what was there to be surprised about? It was clearly a shock, all right. Interesting. Are you fucking crazy? Although they couldn't see the person who was speaking, They could guess with their toes that the person who was speaking must be that damn Yunchujio. The silver-masked man knew that the situation was hopeless. He immediately bit his index finger and wanted to use a secret technique, but he didn't expect that divine fortune teller Gio had already been staring at him. He shouted, "Quick! This bastard wants to use a secret technique to escape. Kill him." Dean Gong-sun and the others already had the previous experience. They didn't need Yun Chujio's reminder to stop him. Therefore, the silver-masked man didn't even have time to use a secret technique before he was captured by everyone. The remaining black-masked men didn't have a backbone. They were quickly killed and captured. In less than an hour, the battle ended. The head of the Chow family was naturally grateful and repeatedly thanked him. Although his status was higher than Dean Gong-sun and the others, it was thanks to their help this time, so he naturally couldn't put on airs anymore. Everyone was exchanging pleasantries at the side. Yun Chujio went over and shamelessly said, "Senior Chow, I heard that the Luoping city where the Chow family is located is very prosperous. I haven't been there yet. Can I borrow your flying spirit tool to go for a stroll?" The Chow family head was first stunned, then laughed loudly. "Of course. Everyone, you've helped this old man a great deal this time. No matter what, you have to go to my house to have a cup of tea before leaving." Old Master Yi and the others' first reaction was that Yun Chujio was really shameless. Who would take the initiative to request to be a guest? Wasn't this extorting a favor in return? However, they thought about it and understood Yun Chujio's meaning. Right now, the guards of the Chow family's head had very little spiritual power left, and the head of the Chow family had become a single commander. If they were to encounter the people from the Divine Devil Hall again, it would be a huge problem. Yun Chujio said that she was going to be a guest, but in reality she was escorting the head of the Chow family back to the Chow family. However, by saying this, she could preserve the face of the head of the Chow family. After all, he was the head of a super aristocratic family. She really could not bring herself to ask everyone to escort him. Everyone sighed. This little girl was really exquisite. She was too experienced in the ways of the world. Dean Gong-sun and the others pretended to decline a few sentences and then took the opportunity to agree. Everyone boarded the Chow family's flying spirit tool. The guards and the captives of the Divine Devil Hall were riding on Mayor Huang's flying spirit tool. The silver-masked man was brought to the Chow family's flying spirit tool. The interrogation was fruitless, and the soul-searching technique did not yield any valuable clues. The head of the Chow family let out a long sigh. At first I thought that the little girl's words were too serious, but now it seems that the Divine Devil Hall is much more terrifying than I imagined. Fan Jinqing, that old fogey, even framed the little girl for spouting nonsense. Really makes one laugh. Dean Gong-sun and the others naturally couldn't agree with him. After all, they couldn't afford to offend the Fan family, but some people weren't afraid. "Senior Chow, you are absolutely right. I was so wronged at that time. I was clearly reminding everyone of my righteousness, but I didn't expect that the head of the Fan family would actually slander me. Fortunately, you stood up for justice at that time. Otherwise, he would have forced me with his coercion." Humph. That Fan Jinqing has always been unreasonable. Some time ago he even accused our Chow family of stealing the Fan family's spirit stone mine. How outrageous. The Fan family is really unreasonable. Senior Chow is an open and above-board person. How could he steal his broken spirit stone mine? To put it bluntly, if he really wants it, he can just rob it. Who cares about stealing? The head of the Chow family, is robbing more noble than stealing? The Chow family head's face was slightly unnatural. Alright, he really intended to snatch it. After all, the spirit stone mine was money. Senior Chow, do you think that the Fan family's flying spirit tool has also been blocked by the Divine Devil Hall? Should we go and help? Yun Chujio said slyly. The Chow family head's heart moved. This was a good opportunity to mock that old fellow Fan Jinqing. Anyway, even if he didn't go, that old fellow would probably be able to escape. However, he had to make him owe him a favor. Let's see how he would have the face to speak of the Chow family in the future. What the little girl said makes sense. Although I don't get along with that old fellow Fan Jinqing, we still have to help each other in the face of a great enemy. Everyone, this old man has a presumptuous request. Can we go and take a look at that old fellow Fan Jinqing before returning to the Chow family? Dean Gong's son and the others naturally would not refuse, especially old Master Yi. He had long wanted to propose to save the Fan family, but was too embarrassed to open his mouth. Yun Chujio thought to herself, didn't that old bastard Fan Jinqing say that I was lying? She wanted to see where his old face would go this time. The Chao family and the Fan family were very close. Logically speaking, the two families should be on the same path, but because the two families were enemies, they deliberately avoided each other. However, the distance was not too far. Everyone quickly discovered that there were people fighting on the ground. To be exact, there were dozens of people attacking one person. The head of the Chao family stretched his neck and shouted excitedly, Fan Jinqing, do you need help? Beg me, as long as you beg me, I will help you kill those people. Dean Gong's son and the others couldn't bear to look at him. As the head of a super aristocratic family, was it really okay to be so childish? Yunchuju was enjoying the show. She couldn't wait for the head of the Chao family to taunt the head of the Fan family a few more times. It would be best if that old thing fainted from anger. The head of the Fan family was naturally extremely happy when he saw that he had reinforcements. However, when he heard the words of the head of the Chao family, he was so angry that he almost died. He would rather escape with some serious injuries than owe the Chao family a favor. The silver-masked man who was fighting with the head of the Fan family was obviously smarter than the previous two. Seeing that the situation was not good, he did not wait for Yun Chujio and the others' flying spirit weapons to land before he used a secret technique to escape. The remaining black-masked men were completely defeated, and they were quickly taken care of by Mayor Huang and the others. None of the guards of the Fan family survived. Yun Chujio found an excuse and declined the Chao family's patriarch's invitation, saying that she would visit him again in the future. The Chao family's patriarch also understood that Yun Chujio had said that she was going to the Chao family to escort him, so he persuaded her a few times but did not force her. 5 days later, Yun Chujio and the others finally returned to Tianluo City. Old Master Yi also returned to the Yi family. After a few more days, almost everyone knew about the incident at the Divine Devil Hall. It had reached the point where the color of a tiger's face changed when talking about it. Yun Chujio learned from Dean Gong's son that 3 second-class family heads had been captured by the Divine Devil Hall. Although almost all the guards of the other forces had died, fortunately, all the family heads had successfully escaped. The 3 second-class families had already received warnings from the other forces. Once the Divine Devil Hall had any news, they would immediately report it and send people to keep an eye on the 3 families. However, Yun Chujio felt that the Divine Devil Hall wasn't that stupid. At least they wouldn't make any moves for the time being. This time the Divine Devil Hall hadn't succeeded. They would definitely turn to acting in secret again and counterattack when the time was ripe. Although the Sky-Bearing Alliance had caught a few traitors, they were all small fries who listened to the orders of the higher-ups and didn't obtain any valuable clues. The various major powers sent people to search everywhere, but they didn't find a single clue. As time passed, the commotion that shocked the entire Immortal Yuan continent came to an end just like that. The head of the Chao family had sent many gifts to thank Yun Chujio. There were also many spirit fruits and pastries in the gifts. This fellow had a better impression of the head of the Chao family. After all this, there weren't many holidays left. Yun Chujio obediently stayed in the Heaven Punisher Academy to cultivate and didn't go out to show off. At this moment, in a hidden valley in the Immortal Origin continent, several men in golden masks were kneeling on the ground, shivering. In front of them was a woman wearing a purple mask. Her figure was graceful, but the cold and oppressive aura she exuded made the men in Jin Mian not even dare to look at her directly. A bunch of trash. Didn't you say that the poisoning was successful? Then why are those important figures safe and sound? Or didn't I tell you that Yun Chujio is very cunning and must arrange more people to intercept her spaceship? Why did you let her escape? One of the men in the golden mask explained, Sir, we did see those people eat the poisoned food, but who would have thought that they were not poisoned? Also, that Yun Chujio is only a little girl in the 6th layer of the spiritual profound realm. We sent 4 flying spirit tools to intercept her. We really didn't expect that they were not poisoned, so, before the man in the golden mask could finish his words, he bled to death from his 7 orifices, and his dead body collapsed on the ground. You admit that you did something wrong, but you still dare to quibble? You're really courting death. The purple-masked woman said coldly. The rest of the gold-masked men were even more anxious. Their spiritual senses had the purple-masked woman's soul imprint. She had a single thought: they would bleed to death. The purple-masked woman calmed herself down and asked, "Did anything strange happen at the banquet?" A gold-masked man hurriedly answered, "That Yun Chujio gave some wild fruits to everyone. I think they were called coral fruits. She brought them from the Qingxian continent." The purple-faced woman frowned. Coral fruits? Only Yun Chujio would give such low-grade fruits to others. She did not suspect that it was because of the coral fruits. How could such low-grade wild fruits be the antidote? It was impossible. The purple-masked woman swept her gaze across the golden-masked men. During this period of time, all of you should behave yourselves and not expose your whereabouts. Especially the few of you who are hiding in the Origin Chaotic Sect and the Origin Killing Sect. Do not expose your identities unless it is absolutely necessary. The golden-masked man who was kneeling at the very front was obviously highly regarded. He gathered his courage and asked, "Sir, in the past we were afraid of being discovered by others, so we did not openly kill that Yun Chujio. Now that the matter has been exposed, why don't I send someone to infiltrate the Sky Punisher Academy and kill her? Arrange for some death warriors to go. Don't leave any loose ends. In addition, you can ask the few nails that stayed in the Sky Punisher Academy to cooperate with you. If necessary, you can abandon them. We haven't found the whereabouts of the Sky Punisher Godly Axe after so many years. There's no value in living anymore," the purple-faced woman said coldly. Yes. Yun Chujio didn't know that the Divine Devil Hall had already made a big move to assassinate her. After school started, she still went around to seek lessons. Her days were quite fulfilling. On this day, Yun Chujio received a voice transmission talisman from Old Master Yi. He said that he received some spirit fruits that were given to her by others. He asked her to go back to the Yi family with Yi Bingyu the next day to eat them. Yun Chujio curled her lips. It was definitely not just about eating the fruits. If it was just about the fruits, wouldn't it be fine to have someone send them over? Besides, why didn't he ask Yi Wenhong to go back with him? There must be something fishy going on. However, it had been a long time since she had gone back to the Yi family. It would be good if she went back to see if there was anyone who did not have eyes to destroy Xiaohua Garden. Therefore, the next day she and Yi Bingyu left Tianluo City with her 10 guards and rushed to the Yi family. The journey was very smooth. When they arrived at the Yi family, the two of them originally planned to visit Old Master Yi first. They did not expect that Old Master Yi would send someone to tell them to go back and have a good rest. It would not be too late to meet him at the banquet. Yun Chujio did not know what Old Master Yi was up to. Anyway, she had the Heaven Dao Cliff as her trump card, so she was not afraid that he would play any tricks. Yun Chujio returned to Xiaohua Garden and saw that her calligraphy was still on the wall. She nodded in satisfaction. The 6 servants of Xiaohua Garden stood in 2 rows in fear and trepidation, welcoming the little devil's return. Yun Chujio glanced at them and walked into the courtyard with her hands behind her back. The little devil looked around and found that the courtyard and the house were very clean. The spirit peach forest and the flowers and plants were also well taken care of. Only then did she generously praise the servants. The 6 servants were so excited that they almost cried. When they found out that the little devil was coming back, they were so nervous that they did not sleep for the whole night. They were afraid that the little devil would not be satisfied. Yun Chujio sat on the stone bench and waved at them. "Let me ask you, did anything unusual happen to the Yi family recently? Why did great-grandfather suddenly call me back?" The 6 servants looked at each other, and then an old woman lowered her voice and said, "Miss, I heard that the young master of the Fan family came yesterday. I don't know if it's because of this reason." Yun Chujio frowned and gave some spiritual stones to the old woman, telling them to leave. Fan Mingchuan came? Why did he come? Was it because of the instructions of the master of the Fan family? Or was he here to avenge his mother and sister? Yun Chujio was not afraid that Fan Mingchuan would recognize her. After all, there was mud on her face and she had changed her voice when she spoke. Yun Chujio did not dress up during the banquet. She only changed into a clean akubla dress and strolled into the banquet hall. The banquet hall was filled with laughter. When they heard the news from the maids, the room instantly fell silent. Everyone's gaze turned to Yun Chujio, who had just entered the room. If an ordinary person were to be watched by so many people, they would more or less feel uncomfortable. A certain Jio was obviously not one of them. Yun Chujio slowly entered the room and bowed to Old Master Yi. Then she bowed to a few elders. Old Master Yi smiled like a chrysanthemum. "Little Jio, come, let me introduce you. This is your cousin Mingchuan. Actually, the difference between you two is only half a year." Yun Chujio saw a strong sense of adultery in Old Master Yi's smile. Was there a need to emphasize that the difference was not even half a year? It was not a blind date. Fan Mingchuan stood tall and nodded at Yun Chujio. "Little cousin Jio is indeed as the rumors say. She is beautiful and lively, leaving a deep impression on people." When Fan Mingchuan said this, his eyes could be described as gentle as water, even though this word did not seem appropriate to describe a man. Yun Chujio had goosebumps all over her body. What was going on? Could it be that he wanted to act like a cousin marrying a younger cousin? Yun Chujio laughed dryly. "Cousin Mingchuan is as sensible as the rumors say. Looks like he has really grown up. If you have any difficulties in the future, feel free to look for cousin. I am a person who takes good care of my younger siblings." Fan Mingchuan's gentle expression instantly turned into a dumbfounded one. Even a fool could understand what Yun Chujio was trying to say. That was, "Little kid, go play somewhere else. Your sister does not like you." A trace of malice flashed in Fan Mingchuan's eyes, but it disappeared in an instant. He smiled warmly and said, "Little cousin Jio is really funny. This is just a small token of appreciation. Please accept it." Fan Mingchuan said and handed Yun Chujio an exquisite jade box. Yun Chujio took it and opened it. She saw an exquisite jade bracelet inside. Now the question was, should she accept it or not? Even a blind man could see Fan Mingchuan's intention. He did not know what he was thinking. He actually wanted to play the game of marriage between cousins with her. Could it be that the Yi mother and daughter had not been abused enough by her and wanted to be abused by her for the rest of their lives? Yi Bingying's hand gripped the handkerchief tightly. She really could not understand why Fan Mingchuan was so special to Yun Chujio. Although that bitch was pretty good-looking, she was obviously a young girl who hadn't fully grown yet. Moreover, her spiritual power was low and she was a stepchild. What did Fan Mingchuan see in her? What Fan Mingchuan gave her and Yi Bingyu were nothing more than some pearl flowers. Although they were exquisite, they couldn't compare to the jade bracelet. Fan Mingchuan managed to maintain the smile on his face with much difficulty. He thought that his mission this time would be completed smoothly. After all, he was more than 10,000 times stronger than Yun Chujio in all aspects. She was only the stepdaughter of a first-class family, yet she did not know how to appreciate favors. She was really shameless. Fan Mingchuan's heart was filled with resentment. If not for old Master Fan's orders, how could he have come to curry favor with such a rude woman? Even Yi Bingying was much better than her. It was also possible that this Yun Chujio's mind had not opened up yet, so she did not realize his intentions? Otherwise, how could she turn a blind eye to his goodwill? Old Master Yi was the first to leave the banquet. Then Fan Mingchuan put down his chopsticks and everyone stood up to leave. Lu Shi said with a smile, "Mingchuan, if you have anything you need, feel free to tell your aunt. You can also look for your cousin Bingying." Yi Bingying looked at Fan Mingchuan shyly when she saw this. She did not expect Fan Mingchuan to just coldly say, "Then thank you, aunt." Lu Shi wanted to say something, but she saw Fan Mingchuan catch up with Yun Chujio, who had already left the banquet hall. "Cousin Jio, we're on the way. We'll send you back." Yi Bingying bit her lips. On the way. Her courtyard and guest house were on the way. Did cousin Mingchuan really like that bitch? Yun Chujio felt that this Fan Mingchuan was as annoying as a fly. If she wasn't afraid of offending the Fan family, she would have kicked him away. This Fan Mingchuan clearly despised her in his heart, yet he had to put on an affectionate expression. Was he crazy? "Cousin Little Jio, I heard from my great-grandfather that it was thanks to your help that we were attacked by the Divine Devil Hall this time. Cousin Little Jio, if you don't mind, can I come to your courtyard to ask for a cup of tea to drink? Then you can tell me about what happened this time." A warm smile hung on Fan Mingchuan's face. There was a hint of flattery in his tone. Yun Chuju looked at him inexplicably and said coldly, "I'm sorry, I mind." Fan Mingchuan. Fan Mingchuan gritted his teeth and took 2 steps to catch up with Yun Chujio. "Little cousin Jio, there's something I don't know if I should say. Since you don't know, then don't say it." Fan Mingchuan. Fan Mingchuan had never been insulted like this in his entire life. Even though he was also the daughter of a super aristocratic family, she was still affectionate towards him. After all, he was one of the best among his peers. He didn't expect that he would be insulted by such a trash in his eyes, to the point that he almost couldn't take care of himself. Truly detestable. When Fan Mingchuan regained his senses, Yun Chujio had already left without a trace. Cousin Mingchuan, little sister Jio, has always had this kind of temper. My aunt and sister Sushue were also bullied by her. Perhaps it's because she grew up in the Qingxian continent, so her etiquette is slightly worse. Yi Bingying had been following the 2 people not far away. So when she saw Fan Mingchuan being bullied, she immediately came over to make things difficult for Yun Chujio. Fan Mingchuan said coldly, "Cousin Bingying, gossiping behind people's backs, how good are your manners?" After Fan Mingchuan said that, he did not even look at Yi Bingying and directly left. Yi Bingying's face alternated between green and white. She muddle-headed returned to her own courtyard and smashed the things in the house into pieces. She did not blame Fan Mingchuan. She blamed all these things on Yun Chujio. It was all because of that slut. Before she came back, everything was going well for her. However, ever since that bitch came back, everything was not going well for her. Now even Mingchuan's cousin was taken away by her. She deserved to die. The next day, Yun Chujio had just gotten up when a maid came to report in fear. "Miss, Master Mingchuan has been waiting for you outside for an hour." Yun Chujio felt that Fan Mingchuan must have been kicked in the head by a donkey. She had already dissed him yesterday, but he was actually waiting for her outside so early in the morning? And he even stood there secretly for an hour? Yun Chujio frowned. She slowly washed up and left the house. Fan Mingchuan, who was outside, might have heard the noise inside. He said in a clear voice, "Cousin little Jio, can I go in?" Yun Chujio really wanted to say to get as far away as possible, but it was not good to be too ruthless. She could only raise her chin and let an old woman open the courtyard door. Fan Mingchuan wore a white robe today, which made him look even more handsome. He smiled and walked into the courtyard. "Cousin little Jio, you haven't had breakfast yet, right? I have breakfast here. Come and try it." Just as Yun Chujio was about to argue, Fan Mingchuan had already placed all kinds of exquisite breakfast on the stone table. Yun Chujio glanced at the food on the stone table and thought to herself, delicious food is not a sin. It's a waste not to eat it, so she picked up her chopsticks and began to eat. Fan Mingchuan's eyes revealed a hint of pride. It seems that Yun Chujio's weakness is eating. He thought that it was so difficult to deal with, but it turned out that she was a good-for-nothing. After a while, Yun Chujio put down her chopsticks and took out a handkerchief to wipe her mouth. She said to Fan Mingchuan, "Cousin Mingchuan, my holiday life is to eat and sleep. After I sleep and eat, I will go and sleep. Please help yourself." After saying that, Yun Chujio yawned and entered the house, leaving Fan Mingchuan in the yard. No matter how deep Fan Mingchuan was, he couldn't hold it in anymore. His face was frighteningly gloomy, and he left Xiaohua Garden with a flick of his sleeve. A certain Jio, who was secretly peeking through the door, pursed her lips. "Little girl, did you think that I was bought over by your sugar-coated cannonball? You really underestimated me." Yun Chujio pushed the door open and swaggered out. The servants did not dare to ask. What a joke. It was hard to say when this person was bad. It was better not to provoke him. Yun Chujio walked into the spirit peach forest and sat on the swing. Fan Mingchuan's actions were most likely instigated by the head of the Fan family. What was that old man thinking? What was his motive? Could it be that because she saved him, his great-grandson was willing to give his body to her? Stop bullshitting. He must be up to no good. Besides, even though Fan Mingchuan looked like a dog, he could not compare to a finger of a pretty boy. He was even shameless enough to wear white clothes. Bah. At noon, Fan Mingchuan came to the house again. This time Yun Chujio did not even let him into the courtyard. The excuse was very simple. He was taking a nap. In the evening, Fan Mingchuan came again. Yun Chujio yawned and said, "Cousin Mingchuan, am really sleepy. Let's talk again when we have time. I'm going to sleep. Fan Mingchuan was so angry that his nose was crooked. Even a pig couldn't spend 12 hours a day sleeping, right? He really couldn't understand. With his conditions, he was willing to lower himself to please her, but she still refused. What was the meaning of this? Fan Mingchuan's bodyguard whispered, "Young master, I heard that this Yun Chujio is very smart. Is she playing hard to get?" Fan Mingchuan suddenly realized that it must be so. He had said it before. How could Yun Chujio resist his attack? It turned out that she was playing hard to get. Alright, since she was willing to play, he would cooperate with her. Who can say for sure what will happen in the future? Anyway, it is still early. Why don't we walk around the streets together? Fan Mingchuan said with a smile. Yun Chujio's heart was like a dog that was bickering. She felt that even if Fan Mingchuan held a knife and went against her, it would be better than pestering her like this. What exactly did he see in her? Couldn't she change it? Yun Chujio sighed. All right. Since you're so persistent, I'll tell you openly that I already have someone I like. Not only is he handsome beyond compare, but his spiritual power is also superb. He's like a god in my heart. He's like the sun in the sky. No matter who it is, they will be eclipsed by his light. After Yun Chujio finished speaking, she felt that her teeth were a little sore. Damn it, if the gigolo heard this, he would be so proud that he wouldn't know what to do. The warmth on Fan Mingchuan's face could no longer be maintained. He asked coldly, "Who is he? How can he make others pale in comparison? Does he think that he is a true disciple of the primordial chaos sect?" Yun Chujio curled her lips. It doesn't matter if he is a true disciple or not. As long as he is the sun in my heart, it's enough. Cousin Mingchuan, since you've already said it, don't waste your time on me. By the way, don't you feel that it's very tiring to be so affectionate? After Yun Chujio finished speaking, she left with Yi Bingyu and the 10 guards. Fan Mingchuan looked at Yun Chujio's back with a gloomy expression. He turned around and left Tianluo City. Yun Chujio returned to the dormitory. She felt that these 2 days had been like a joke. That Fan Mingchuan was simply crazy. However, if the head of the Fan family really wanted to hit her, it would really be quite troublesome. She could not wipe out the Fan family like how she had wiped out the Zhao family back then. Moreover, to outsiders, this was indeed a good marriage. Old Master Yi was probably all for it. It looked like she had to enter the primordial chaos sect. Only then would she have the capital to persuade Old Master Yi to give up on the marriage alliance. Hence, in the following days, other than attending classes and skipping classes, Yun Chujio basically spent all her time cultivating. However, even though she had accumulated a lot of spiritual power in her body, the heavenly lightning was still not here. This fellow was so anxious that he was about to go to bed. Heavens, did this old bastard Tiandao learn to be smart? Could it be that he did not plan to strike her in the future? If there was no heavenly lightning, she would not be able to break through in her lifetime. Seeing that the time for the Hunyuan sect to recruit students was approaching, this fellow had no choice but to run to the heavenly Dao cliff. "Little Tiantung, can we discuss something?" Yun Chujio said with a cheeky smile. "What is it?" The heavenly Dao cliff had an inexplicable ominous feeling in its heart. "Well, I haven't broken through in a long time." "Well, can you deliberately make a mistake and draw some heavenly lightning to strike you?" Heavenly Dao cliff. It had never thought that a person could be so shameless as to make some mistakes on purpose and draw lightning to strike you? Was her heart black? Yun Chujio also felt that she was a little shameless and laughed awkwardly. "Forget it, I also think that my request is a little too much. Just pretend that I didn't say anything and don't take it to heart." Actually, Yun Chujio said these words from the bottom of her heart. However, the heavenly Dao cliff understood that Yun Chujio had some bitterness that she couldn't say. She was pitiful and had no way out. He was a little soft-hearted. For hundreds of thousands of years, it had only talked to this little girl and only had this one acquaintance. It didn't seem like it was a big deal to help her. Anyway, it wasn't like it hadn't been struck before. Moreover, after Wu Yun came, most of the heavenly lightning would be absorbed by the little girl. It wouldn't have any effect on it. "How can I make a mistake? Tell me." The heavenly Dao cliff said proudly. Yun Chujio did not expect the heavenly Tao cliff to change his mind. She laughed dryly and said, "Well, little Tiantian, you don't have to force me. I also feel that my request was a little too much. I was too anxious." The more Yun Chujio said so, the more the heavenly Tao cliff insisted on helping. Yun Chujio rubbed her nose. She finally understood why the White Lotus was invincible. It turned out that this method of retreating to advance was really useful. Forget it. Anyway, when the lightning struck, it would not hurt the heavenly Tao cliff. Moreover, Wu Yun probably hated the heavenly Tao cliff long ago. It would not be bad for him to do it again. However, what kind of mistake was better for the heavenly Tao cliff to make? What's so difficult about that? If you casually make a golden light beam, Wu Yun will probably come and strike you. Unfortunately, the Fan family was too far away. Otherwise, the heavenly Tao cliff would make a golden light beam to deal with the Fan family. The heavenly Tao cliff had no choice but to bring Yun Chujio to the bottom of the valley and then make a golden light beam to casually shake her. A certain Jiao secretly waited for the lightning to strike. However, her butt hurt from sitting down and there was no heavenly lightning. Damn it! Could it be that the old bastard Tian Dao had seen through her scheme? Heavens, what should she do? Could it be that her spiritual power could only be stagnant at the first layer of the spiritual void tier? When night fell and the heavenly lightning did not come, Yun Chujio had no choice but to leave the heavenly Tao cliff with her head drooping. When she returned to the dormitory, this fellow did not wash up and lay on the bed, worrying. Why did she have to be struck by lightning to break through? She had never heard that people with thunder spirit roots needed to be struck by lightning to advance. It was only when their spiritual power reached a certain level that they could break through. Even if there were some records of the heavenly lightning spirit roots, there was no mention of needing to be struck by lightning to advance. Then why did she have to be struck by lightning to advance? Was there no other way? What was the use of the lightning strike? Yun Chujio sat up from the bed and walked to the table. She took out a piece of paper and drew a line, analyzing the connection bit by bit. Yun Chujio's eyes suddenly lit up. She had found the key. The reason why she could break through after being struck by lightning was because when the lightning struck, a large amount of lightning spirit energy would rush into her body. Similarly, as long as a large amount of lightning spiritual force entered her dantian, she would be able to level up. The more Yun Chujio thought about it, the more excited she became. She said to the three in her dantian, "Hurry up and spit out a large amount of lightning spiritual force that you have stored. I want to use it to break through." However, the three of them were as quiet as chickens. There was no reaction at all. Yun Chujio said it again, but the three of them were still as quiet as chickens. There was no reaction. Fuck. Are you all shameless? You've been living here for so long, so what if I ask you to pay some rent? Besides, I'm only here to break through, it's not like I'm not returning it to you. Do you have to be so stingy? The three of them were still as quiet as chickens. Yun Chujio rolled her eyes. Alright, since you're all so unwilling, then I have nothing to say. Anyway, if I can't break through, I won't be able to enter the Chaos Origin sect. If I can't enter the Chaos Origin sect, then I won't be able to find a new way to be struck by lightning. If I can't find a way to be struck by lightning, then all of you won't have any lightning spiritual power to absorb in the future. It's up to all of you. The three of them were clearly confused by Yun Chujio's tongue twister. After a while, they reluctantly began to spit out lightning spiritual power. It's too slow. Spit it out faster, just like when the heavenly lightning struck me. Yun Chujio said discontentedly. The three of them had no choice but to speed up the release of the lightning spiritual power. Yun Chujio nodded in satisfaction. Let's do it at this speed for 6 hours. You'll have to suck it back after you spit it out anyway, so you won't be at a disadvantage. The three of them thought about it and realized that it really was the case. Didn't really matter. Thus, they sped up the release of the lightning spiritual power. 6 hours later, a certain Jiao proudly discovered that she had broken through to the third layer of the spiritual void tier. Was there anyone smarter than her in this world? God damn it, do you think that I can't break through just because you don't let the lightning strike me? La la la, in the future she could break through anytime and anywhere and no longer be bound by the god of thieves, haha. Just as Yun Chujio was showing off, she heard the little black bird say weakly, Master, you are too happy. Without the lightning, how can Xiaomogu and I increase our spiritual power? Moreover, the spiritual power in the three of them is limited. If you use less of it, will they be willing to spit it out in the future? Yunchujio was like a balloon that had been punctured by a needle. She immediately wilted. Yes, this was not a long-term plan. If there was no lightning to replenish it, the three in her dantian would go on strike sooner or later. Moreover, Xiao Hanyo and Xiao Mogu also had no way to cultivate. It seemed that they still had to find a way to attract the lightning. This fellow rolled his eyes. At present there were only 5 ways. The first way was to find a secret realm to enter for a trial. She had to think of a way to trick the weapon spirit array into striking her with lightning. If she could get a little, she would get a little. The second way was to find a divine weapon like the heavenly Dao cliff and make it make a mistake. That way she would be able to get some heavenly lightning. The third way was to do something that would make the heavenly Dao chi smoke. It was likely that it would also strike her. The fourth way was to find a place like the lightning tribulation valley. She could absorb the lightning and find treasures at the same time. The fifth method was to absorb as much lightning as she could when the weather was normal, even if it was silver lightning. Yun Chujio sighed. None of the 5 methods were easy to implement. She could only take it one step at a time. The most important thing now was to find a way to enter the primordial chaos sect. On this day, Yun Chujio went to the 2nd grade's alchemy class as usual. As usual, she watched others refine pills from the side and kept shaking her head as she silently ridiculed them. Instructor Luo shook his head. This Yun Chujio had been fishing for fish for 3 days and fishing for nets for 2 days. Rather than saying that she was here to freeload from the class, it was better to say that she was here to play. Yun Chujio watched for a while and felt that it was meaningless. After all, she had already memorized the pill formula. Just as Yun Chujio was about to fall asleep, a skinny old man walked in. Teacher Luo quickly went forward and said, "Teacher Wen, why are you here?" Teacher Wen was the chief teacher of the alchemy department and did not teach, so Teacher Luo was very surprised. Teacher Wen nodded slightly. There are a few kinds of herbs that need to be picked in my herbal field. I'm afraid that those odd job workers don't know the gravity of the matter and will damage them while picking. So after class, tell these students not to leave first and to go to the field with me. Teacher Luo smiled and said, I see. You only need to send me a message. Why bother to trouble you to come personally? Teacher Wen waved his hand. Anyway, I'm going to the field, so I'll just take it as a way. Yun Chujio, this lazy person, did not want to pick any herbs, so she decided to escape. Unfortunately, she was discovered by Teacher Wen as soon as she left her seat. Yun Chujio, where are you going? You were so active when you were freeloading from the class. Why are you sneaking out when you are doing work? Dream on. Follow me obediently. Yun Chujio laughed dryly and could only return to her seat to wait. She was frustrated. If she had known this would happen, she wouldn't have come to this class. After class, everyone followed Teacher Wen to a medicinal field. Xingtian Academy's medicinal field was very large. Usually there were teachers and handymen to take care of it. Each type of medicinal herb was cultivated separately. Therefore, the medicinal field was divided into several small areas. Everyone was divided into several groups and each was responsible for picking one type of medicinal herb. The easiest was naturally picking the fruit, and the most troublesome and tiring was picking the whole herb. Because they had to be careful not to hurt the roots, it took a lot of time and effort. Coincidentally, a certain Jiu was arranged to pick the whole herb. Yun Chujio squatted there and slowly dug up the herbs. Other people dug up 3, but she couldn't even dig up 1. While this guy was dawdling, a student walked over from the distant herbal field. It was Zhu Jingtong. Zhu Jingtong said to Yun Chujio in a bad mood, Teacher Wen wants you to go over and help him pick the fine leaf red thread grass. Let's go. Yun Chujio was really unwilling to go. Picking the fine leaf red thread grass took a lot of effort and required a lot of patience. The only part of the fine leaf red thread grass that could be used was the red thread vein inside the leaf. When picking, she had to carefully remove the vein from the leaf. If someone else came to call her, she could still ask for the reason, but this Zhu Jingtong hated her to death and could not get anything out of her. Yun Chujio could only stand up and follow Zhu Jingtong to the medicinal field where the fine leaf red thread grass was planted. After arriving at the medicinal field of the fine leaf red thread grass, Teacher Wen smiled and said, "Little girl, why aren't you willing to help? Don't worry, after these fine leaf red thread grass are plucked, I will give you some pills that I have refined. I won't let you work in vain." What else could Yun Chujio say? Could it be that she didn't want any lousy pills and just wanted to slack off? Therefore she and Zhu Jingtong could only bitterly start to pick the fine leaf red silk grass. The students in the other medicinal fields had already finished their work early. Only she and Zhu Jingtong were still bitterly continuing to pick. She really wanted to ask Teacher Wen, why couldn't they find more students? He had to let her and Zhu Jingtong pick the herbs. Teacher Wen seemed to see through Yun Chujie's question. He smiled and said, "This fine leaf red silk grass is very delicate. I don't trust ordinary people. Zhu Jingtong's alchemy results have always been good. As for you, you are bold and careful. You are the most suitable for this kind of work." Yun Chujie's heart was like a beeping dog. What bullshit reason? When had she sinned against this Teacher Wen? So she deliberately made fun of her? It was not until the sky gradually turned dark that the two of them finally finished picking this fine-leafed red silk grass. Teacher Wen praised the two of them a few times, then said, "You have performed well. Let's go to my courtyard. I will personally give you some pointers." Zhu Jingtong's face revealed a pleasantly surprised expression. Yun Chujio could only pretend to be pleasantly surprised. However, in her heart, this fellow was thinking, "Give me some pointers? I just want to go back and have dinner, alright?" The three of them left the herbal field. After walking for about an hour, they finally arrived in front of a courtyard. Yun Chujio silently cursed in her heart. As expected of the chief instructor of the alchemy department. This courtyard was really big. Teacher Wen brought the two of them into the courtyard and directly went to the alchemy room in the courtyard. The alchemy room was very spacious. The operating table was connected to the earth fire, and there were a few bottles and jars placed on the shelves around it. Yun Chujio was curiously sizing them up when she felt her hair stand on end. Her heart tightened and she subconsciously dodged to the side. Another gust of wind blew over. Yun Chujio jumped to the side again and dodged the attack. She focused her eyes and saw that the gentle smile on Teacher Wen's face had long changed into a sinister sneer. Zhu Jingtong was even more ferocious. "Teacher Wen, what do you mean by this?" Yun Chujio wanted to divert his attention and seized the opportunity to rush out of the door. Teacher Wen laughed sinisterly. "What do you mean? Of course I want your life. Don't think about rushing out of the door. I have already set up a formation in this alchemy room. You can't escape. If you don't believe me, you can try." As Teacher Wen spoke, he directly gave up the position at the door. After Yun Chujio jumped over, she realized that there was an invisible barrier blocking her way. There was no way to escape. Yun Chujio took out her jade token and wanted to ask Dean Gongsun for help. Zhu Jingtong said coldly, "Don't waste your energy. Whether it's the identity jade token or the voice transmission talisman, they are all ineffective here. You will only die today." Yun Chujio used her sleeve to cover the small rock on Tiandao Cliff. Unfortunately, she found that it was not easy to use. At this moment, Teacher Wen and Zhu Jingtong launched their attacks at the same time. Yun Chujio could only dodge them. However, although this alchemy room was not small, it was still too small for a fight. Yun Chujio quickly had no way to dodge, so she could only let out all the stupid cuties. Zhu Jingtong curled his lips in disdain. Those who are raised by trash are also trash. Letting them out is also courting death. Yun Chujio ignored him. She let a few dumb beasts attack Zhu Jingtong while she dealt with Teacher Wen. Xiao Hanyo had long been suffocated. All secret realms forbade flying. There was simply no space for it to display its power. Now it finally had an opportunity. Thus, it flew above Zhu Jingtong's head and threw a fireball at him. Xiao Hong howled and used it to disturb his mind. Xiao Hanyo used its claws to tightly hold Zhu Jingtong's ankle. Xiao Mogus mycelium took the opportunity to wrap around Zhu Jingtong's waist. Zhu Jingtong did not expect these little things to be so difficult to deal with, especially the mycelium around his waist. He tried his best but could not break free. His spiritual power began to gradually dissipate. "Teacher Wen, help. Teacher Wen, help." Zhu Jingtong had no choice but to ask Teacher Wen for help. Teacher Wen frowned and ignored Zhu Jingtong's request for help, because he felt that killing Yun Chujio was more important than anything else, so there was no need to waste time to save Zhu Jingtong. Zhu Jingtong cried out in despair, but Teacher Wen was indifferent. In the end, he was burned to ashes by Xiao Hanio's fireball. On the other side, Yun Chujio was left with only a few spiritual tools that she had exchanged for the coral fruit with great difficulty, and her heart was aching. Fortunately, after the dummies killed Zhu Jingtong, they came over to help, giving her a little bit of time to catch her breath. The dummies used the same trick again. Xiao Mogu entangled Teacher Wen. Unexpectedly, Teacher Wen snorted coldly and directly used his spiritual power to break free from Xiao Mogu. Moreover, he released a thick poisonous smoke. Yun Chujio didn't mind, but the dummies' time to hold their breath was limited. She could only put the dummies into the spirit beast bag, leaving Xiao Mogu, who wasn't afraid of the poisonous smoke. Teacher Wen raised his hand and released a red-horned bloodthirsty poisonous snake, letting it entangle Xiao Mogu. Although Xiao Mogu was good at dealing with humans and demonic beasts, the red-horned bloodthirsty poisonous snake's body was slender and slippery. Its mycelium effect was really limited. Stupid girl, I didn't expect you to have a treasure that is impervious to all poisons. It's time for me to take advantage of you. Teacher Wen's eyes revealed a greedy look as he stepped up his attack. Yun Chujio secretly complained. It was already good enough that Xiao Mogu could protect herself. Couldn't help her at all. Could it be that she could only hide in the Great Void Mirror? Are you people from the Divine Devil Hall? I advise you to stop at the precipice. The Divine Devil Hall won't have a good ending. Yun Chujio tried to stall for time while thinking of a way. I won't hide it from you now. That's right, I am from the Divine Devil Hall. Initially, the higher-ups wanted to send dozens of people to kill you, but I stopped them. To kill a good-for-nothing like you, I alone am enough. There is no need to mobilize so many people. Teacher Wen said arrogantly. Pui. You shameless old bastard, the one who will die today will definitely be you. You are courting death. Yun Chujio was cursing Teacher Wen while anxiously thinking of a solution. Suddenly, she caught a glimpse of the earth fire pipe and her eyes lit up. Old man, you want to kill me? I'll burn you today. Yun Chujio put Xiao Mogu into her spiritual beast bag and took out a large kitchen knife to cut at the earth fire pipeline. The earth fire pipeline was built with special materials. It was impossible for ordinary weapons to destroy it, but it was not difficult to use the kitchen knife that was essential for living and traveling. With two clangs, a hole was cut in the pipeline and the earth fire inside gushed out. The things on the operating table were instantly swallowed by the earth fire. Are you crazy? Teacher Wen shouted in exasperation. Yun Chujio bared her little white teeth at him and threw a basin of rapeseed oil at him and the red-horned bloodthirsty viper. Although Teacher Wen used the spiritual energy barrier to block the rapeseed oil outside, the moment the rapeseed oil fell to the ground, the earth fire instantly became bigger, and the entire room became a sea of fire. Teacher Wen gritted his teeth and withdrew the array formation, wanting to rush out of the door. How could Yun Chujio let him escape? While letting the little black bird curse, she threw out a big sack. Teacher Wen stumbled. Before he could stand up, he felt something smashing towards him. He hurriedly jumped to the side and awkwardly dodged the attack. However, he did not expect a pungent smell to instantly envelop him. Teacher Wen was choked with tears and snot. A certain Geo, who was wearing a gas mask, began to attack Teacher Wen with her spiritual pig. As for the red-horned bloodthirsty snake, it had already been burned to the ground and rolled on the ground. It was not a threat at all. Teacher Wen's eyes were so choked that he could not even open them. He could only randomly choose a direction to rush out of the house. Unfortunately, he was too unlucky and just happened to jump to where a certain Geo was. A certain Geo was already holding a large kitchen knife and waiting. She raised her hand and the knife fell. Teacher Wen died immediately. Because Teacher Wen had just removed the array, the earth fire had already spread to other houses. The entire courtyard was filled with flames that soared into the sky and were particularly eye-catching in the night. Yun Chujio went outside the courtyard and stared at the courtyard filled with flames with an inexplicable expression. She had been careless and had to be more cautious in the future. Very soon many people ran over to put out the fire. When the crowd saw Yun Chujio standing at the entrance of the courtyard, although they were very curious, no one dared to ask. Some teachers and students with water spirit roots began to put out the fire. In fact, the fire had almost burned out and there was no other courtyard next to the courtyard. Even if they didn't help, the fire wouldn't burn anywhere. When Dean Gongsun arrived, only the earth fire pipe was still burning, and everything in the surroundings had been completely burned. Everyone found 2 storage rings in the ashes. Dean Gongsun found teacher Wen and Zhu Jingtong's identity jade tokens, as well as 2 jade tokens engraved with the resurrection lily. Dean Gongsun suddenly understood. These 2 people were probably trying to harm Yunchujio, but in the end they were burned to death by the earth fire. However, this earth fire did not have eyes. How could it only burn those 2, but this little girl was safe and sound? Although Dean Gongsun was puzzled in his heart, he did not ask Yunchujio. Ever since the incident of the attack of the Divine Devil Hall, for some reason, Dean Gongsun had become somewhat fearful of Yunchujio in his heart. He had a feeling that Yunchujio seemed to know that there would be people from the Divine Devil Hall on the way to kill them. Moreover, the little girl's methods really made people's backs turn cold. Moreover, this fellow had already left a deep impression on Alliance Master Yen of the Sky-Bearing Alliance and the head of the Chao family. In addition, a great-grandfather Huang had appeared out of nowhere, and the Fan family seemed to have the intention of letting Fan Mingchuan marry her. He really could not afford to provoke her. Therefore, Dean Gongsun felt that as long as this Yunchujio did not do anything that would endanger the Sky Punisher Academy, she could do whatever she wanted. Dean Gongsun was looking forward to the time when the Primordial Chaos sect would recruit new disciples and send this ancestor away as soon as possible. From that day onwards, Yunchujio became even more cautious in case the Divine Devil Hall tried to assassinate her again. Time flew by quickly. There was only a little more than a month left until the day the Primordial Chaos sect opened its doors to recruit disciples. Yunchujio decided to set off for the Primordial Chaos sect because the journey would take nearly 20 days. Once she reached there, she would make preparations and the time would be almost used up. Dean Gongsun almost beat the drums and gongs to send her off. He said with extreme sincerity, "Yunchujio, you will definitely be able to enter the Primordial Chaos sect. I believe in you. You must work hard. Dean, don't worry. Even if I manage to enter the Primordial Chaos sect, I will often return to the Xingtian Academy to visit you. After all, there are many beautiful memories here," Yunchujio said with a smile. Dean Gongsun ridiculed her. "It may be beautiful for you, but it's a nightmare for many people, isn't it?" Yunchujio went to the Wastone Academy to pick up Yi Bingyu. The 4 of them left Tianluo City and rushed to the Yi family to meet up with Yi Bingying. From the bottom of her heart, Yunchujio was unwilling to bring Yi Bingying along. However, great-grandfather Yi had sent many guards to protect them, so they couldn't split the guards into 2. After arriving at the Yi family, great-grandfather Yi gave a few more instructions. "Although I have sent many guards for you, their strength is still too weak. Go to the Fan family first, meet up with Mingchuan, and then head to the Primordial Chaos sect together. With the protection of the Fan family's guards, I can rest assured." Yi Bingying naturally could not wish for more. Although Yunchujio hated Fan Mingchuan, with the protection of the Fan family, she could also avoid the assassination of the Divine Devil Hall. It was not unacceptable. In addition, little Jiao and Bingyu, there's an 80 to 90% chance that you won't be able to pass. When you return, you must also be extremely careful, Old Master Yi added. When Yi Bingying heard Old Master Yi say this, although she tried her best to restrain herself, she still revealed a slightly smug expression. So what if the Fan family had taken a liking to this slut Yunchujio? She would definitely not be able to get into the Primordial Chaos sect, but she could meet Mingchuan's cousin frequently. She did not believe that she would not be able to compete with this little bitch. Yi Bingyi's face was embarrassed. To be honest, she really did not have the confidence to get into the Primordial Chaos sect. At most, she only had a 10% chance. This 10% chance was still because of Yunchujio's evil schemes. Yunchujio said with a cheeky smile, "Great-grandfather, are you saying the opposite? Do you want to say that there's an 80% to 90% chance that we can get in?" Great-grandfather Yi was so angry that he laughed. Good. You're an ambitious person. We'll see if you can pass. Right, it's getting late. Let's hurry up and set off." Yun Chujio and the other two brought their guards out of the Yi residence and met up with Xue Wuji and Jin Ji outside of Yi City. Everyone boarded the Flying Spirit Tool and headed straight for the Fan family. The atmosphere on the Flying Spirit Tool was a little awkward. After Yi Bingying boarded the Flying Spirit Tool, she directly entered her room with an aloof look on her face. Yi Bingyu had a short crush on Xue Wuji before. That time in the Tianluo mystic realm, because she was in a dangerous situation, she did not have the time to be embarrassed. But now it was different. Being on the same Flying Spirit Tool, her young girl's heart started to stir again. Yun Chuju did not care about this. Every single person had the right to pursue love. As long as they were willing to be together, the heavens would not care. However, Xue Wuji did not have a good expression. Every word he said could kill Yi Bingyu. Yun Chuju looked at Yi Bingji's teary eyes and could only secretly ask Xue Wuji, "Brother Wuji, Yi Bingyu clearly has a good impression of you. What do you think of Yi Bingyu?" "No opinion. I won't like her," Xue Wuji said straightforwardly. Yun Chujio shrugged, knowing that this matter was hopeless. So she found an opportunity. She told Yi Bingyu about the matter. "Sister Bingyu, it's not sweet to force things. Besides, Brother Wuji is a psychopath. You won't be happy with him. There are plenty of people with two legs. There are plenty of other fish in the sea. Let's meet slowly." Although Yi Bingyu was a little disappointed, she was not a person who would get into a dead end. Otherwise, she would not have forgiven Yun Chujio, so she slowly let it go. Yun Chujio would brainwash Yi Bingyu whenever she was free. Xue Wuji was a psychopath, Xue Wuji was a psychopath, and Xue Wuji was a psychopath. Yi Bingyu did not know if Yun Chujio's brainwashing was successful or if her mentality had changed. After she was relieved, the more she looked at Xue Wuji, the more she felt that he was a psychopath. A grown man who wore bright red clothes every day, was picky about what he ate, and could choke people to death with his words. He was indeed a psychopath. Fortunately, she had reined herself in. Otherwise, she would definitely regret it in the future. Yun Chujio finally felt relieved when she saw the look of disdain on Yi Bingji's face when she looked at Xue Wuji. She did not want to see any drama involving love and hate. 5 days later, they arrived at Pingchong City, where the Fan family was located. According to etiquette, Yun Chujio and the others should pay a visit to the Fan family. However, Yun Chujio could imagine the ugly faces of Yi Xinwan and her daughter. Therefore, she said to Yi Bingying, "Sister Bingying, you should pay a visit to the Fan family. We want go." Yi Bingying couldn't wait for Yun Chujio to be as rude as possible so that she could show off her elegance. Therefore, she happily brought a few guards to the Fan family. The mother and daughter of the Yi family had already made the arrangements. Therefore, when they heard that the Yi family was coming, they couldn't help but be very excited. At first, Yi Xinwan didn't agree to let Fan Mingchuan marry Yun Chujio, but Fan Suksha's words made her change her mind. "Mother, it's a good thing for that bitch to marry brother. When she marries in, don't you have the final say on how to flatten her? When the bullying is over, we can find a reason to divorce her. That would be so satisfying." Yi Xinwan felt that what Fan Sushua said made sense, so she did not object to this marriage. Who would have thought that Fan Mingchuan would actually return in defeat? The Yi family mother and daughter naturally cursed Yun Chujio, saying that the bitch was shameless and did not know what was good for her. This time, when they learned that Yun Chujio and the others were going to travel with Fan Mingchuan, the Yi family mother and daughter discussed a vicious plan. They were prepared to persuade Yun Chujio to stay at the Fan residence for a night, and then think of a way to drug Yun Chujio. When the time came, they would send her to Fan Mingchuan's bed. He had to marry or not. Fan Mingchuan was non-committal about the Yi family mother and daughter's plan. Although he felt that it was a little demeaning, that Yun Chujio really didn't know what was good for her. He could just use some means to settle it. It wasn't worth wasting time on her. Unfortunately, their plan was destined to fail because only Yi Bingying came to the door shyly. When the mother and daughter saw that Yi Bingying was alone, they did not give Yi Bingying any face at all. They directly asked the servants to bring her outside to wait. Yi Xinwan was so angry that she smashed her teacup. "Mingchuan, this Yun Chujio is really arrogant. Don't go with her. It's better if she dies on the road." Fan Mingchuan said with a gloomy face, "Mother, you don't have to care about this matter. I naturally have a way to make her submit." After Fan Mingchuan greeted the head of the Fan family, he left the Fan family with several guards. You're tuning in to the Romantic Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.